तस्य ज्ञानञ्जन शलाख्या चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So I seek the blessings of all Vaishnavas, especially His Grace Samarpan Guru and all my fellow devotees, those who have guided me and helped me in my spiritual life. So this topic is a very the topic that I have chosen is nature of mind. So before I go ahead, I would like to tell a small incident that recently happened with one devotee. So there was one devotee who had like he's a like 2-3 years he has been practicing Krishna consciousness. We had gone for a yatra. After the yatra, all the devotees came back, and this devotee had to go for some other place because of his job location. So somehow he did not have good rest at night, and so he was little uneasy. So morning, so he went. So for 5-6 days he did not report me anything. So then after 5-6 days he wrote a long message telling Prabhuji, I am sorry, I could not report to you this. So then I asked, Ki Prabhu, what happened? So he told Ki Prabhuji, so the first when I was in the railway station waiting for the train. So what I did, I was not feeling so strong. So what I did, I installed a game in my smartphone. And that game, that was an old game to which I was addicted. So somehow I started playing that game. So I played that game whole throughout my train journey to the voice, and to such an extent that night 1 o'clock he continued playing. And this thing continued same next day, 3-4 days, 5 days. He was a steadily practicing devotee, but somehow for next 3-4 days he even could not complete 16 rounds chanting also. 2-3 rounds he was chanting, some days 10 rounds. He wrote a message and told Prabhuji, please save me. I am not able to come out from this addiction. So when I was taking this topic, this incident came to my mind that how much is the addictive nature of this mind. That mind addiction means the dictation, that it dictates on us. So the mind, although it is made up of only matter, it dictates its desires and plans on the living entity, completely making it helpless. So that's why our Avanti Brahmana in the 11th canto, he tells, Nayam jananam sukha dukkha hetu na devatatma griha karma kala manah param karanam mamananto samsara chakra parivartayetad. So without, he unequivocally he gives the judgment that mind is the only cause for a living entity's trouble in this world. So it is very heartening for sadhakas like me. So when we find difficulty in spiritual life, so we can understand that it is only my mind which is creating the trouble. It is not anything else. But mind is such a thing that it is very deceptive. It is subtle, so it is very deceptive. So that's why it is very difficult to understand the voice, the spiritual voice and the voice of the mind. So that's why to understand the nature of mind is very important for a sadhaka. So that's why I took up this topic. So the mind causes different moods. I think it is not shared. So the mind causes different moods, swings in people. So the mind, so that's why it is very important for us. The contents will be discussing why Rishabdev, although being the Supreme Lord himself, he neglected the mystic powers. And then we'll go through the Jadabharat's instructions on the nature of mind and solutions that Jadabharat gives. We'll see some personal applications, preaching applications, and mode of mission. So when in the fifth canto, when Rishabdev, he leaves his kingdom and he goes to forest. So in one section it comes that Rishabdev, although the mystic powers were approaching him, but Rishabdev neglects the mystic powers. So Parikshit Maharaj gets a question ki, why, although Rishabdev he has no fruitive desires, why he doesn't accept the mystic powers? So there Sukdev Goswami starts speaking about the nature of mind. He tells that, so he tells that the mind is like a uncontrolled elephant. So using the senses, the mind goes on in the world like an uncontrolled elephant. So like this he tells, and this is a very beautiful verse. Tatha choktam na kuryat karichit sakhyam manasihi anavastite yad vishramba chirachirnam chaskanda tapa aishwaram. So here Sukdev Goswami is telling that all the learned scholars have given their opinion. The mind is by nature very restless, and one should not make friends with it. If we place full confidence in the mind, it may cheat us at any moment. Even Lord Shiva became agitated upon seeing the Mohini form of the Lord Krishna, and Saubhari Muni also fell down from the immature stage of yogic perfection. So this is so mind is very restless, and if we place confidence in the mind may cheat us at any moment. So Srila Prabhupada writes that to get out of this false struggle of existence and become happy in the material world, one has to control the mind and senses and to be detached from material conditions. So Prabhupada many times in his purports and lectures, he tells that first duty of a practicing spiritualist is to control the mind and the senses. So because as spiritualists, we try to go inwards. So like in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna tells, Bahyas Parsheshu Asaktatma. So we try to go inwards. But while going inwards, the first entity that comes in front of us is the mind. So, and to decipher the voice of mind is very difficult. In these two verses, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives very nice commentary. So in first point he tells that mind at every point takes a new condition. Like Prabhupada tells that the mental platform is a very tottering platform. Like we are sitting on a platform, if that platform starts shaking, then it will create a lot of disturbance. But my mental platform is similar. So when we are on the platform of liking and disliking, the mind may like something at one point and it may not like something at another point. So that is the nature of the mind. Mind always keeps on changing. And second thing, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur tells that becoming pure, the mind immediately becomes impure. Like I have also seen in my life that sometimes I will do very nice morning program and everything, proper chanting, and we go out and there is some sense object to which the mind gets hooked and immediately impure desires start coming. So by this we can understand that next Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes very nice thing. He tells that although mind shows its purity and it shows that it has the power not to be influenced by lust and anger, but one day the mind makes the sadhaka who has become lax in effort to fall down by a sudden appearance of lust and anger. So that means that we can never put our trust on mind, because although it shows some purity, it has lot of dirt from past many lifetimes. So that's why it is told that mind has three things. Mind has thoughts, mind has unfulfilled desires, and mind has past experience. And because of being in the material realm for so long time, all these things are like stocked in our mind, in our subconscious mind, in our chitta. So any moment it can come out. That's why my next Vishwanath, our Sukdev Goswami, he compares mind with an unchaste wife. He tells that Nityam dadati kamasya chidram tanu ye araya yogina krita maitrasya patyur jayeva pumshali. So just like unchaste women, so she has many paramours. So if a yogi, he places the he places his trust on the mind, so this unchaste women with the help of his paramours can kill the mind. Similarly, if we place faith on mind with all its associates, lust, anger, greed, so they can kill the mind. Like there was one small incident, like there was one boy, he got a call from his friend that his friend had attempted to commit suicide. So this boy ran and went to help that boy. So then later on, so this devotee, he asked, Ki, why did you want to commit suicide? After a long time, he revealed that, see, this girl was my friend, and this girl, after some time, she blocked me. So that's why I was trying to commit suicide. So then our devotee, so this practicing devotee, he asked, Ki, who is that girl? You show me. So after a long time, he showed. And that same girl, this boy was also attached. So that is the nature of these kind of relationships. So that's why Sukadeva Goswami tells that the mind is the root cause of all, he tells, Kama, Manyo, Mado, Lobha. So these are all Karma Bandhasya Yanmula Kona Kuryat Tad Buddha. Who is that intelligent person who will put faith in the mind? So some lessons that we can learn is that mind, so here there was discussion about the mystic powers. So in our life also we see that there are material commodities which some others may have. And mind will always tell us ki if I have that material commodity, then I will become happy. That is the nature of mind. So it will always trick us to use it. So that's why whatever material objects we accept, it has to be accepted as per our adhikar, which is decided by the superiors. So and Prabhupada, very beautiful point he writes. Prabhupada writes that if we stick to the principle of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra offensively, then by the grace of Srila Haridas Thakur, we may be saved from the allurement of women. However, if we are not very strict in chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we may at any time fall victim to women. So that is, in another Prabhupada writes that we should be unceasingly chanting Hare Krishna. So that is in 8th chapter of Bhagavad-gita, Prabhupada writes this thing. So after giving a small prelude about the mind in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 11th chapter of the 5th canto, Sukadeva Goswami, so Jadabharat, he gives a complete description of the mind, the nature of mind. So why Jadabharat gives this description? Because after Raghugan Maharaj, he surrenders to Jadabharat, seeing the exalted position of Jadabharat. So Raghugan, he asks, still he had many questions in his mind. He asks, ki you told that soul is completely separate from the body, but still soul appears fatigued. Just as milk in a pot starts boiling. The pot gets heated up, but the milk starts boiling. And then he tells, ki it is my duty as a king to punish the citizens. So what is my mistake? And then he tells that as a king I am doing my dharma, so it is going to vanquish my sins. So what is the problem? So hearing all this, Jadabharat, so these questions seem very relevant, because on a practical level they seem very relevant. Similar to like Arjuna, when Arjuna also spoke, the questions were seemingly very relevant. So, but Jadabharat, like Lord Krishna, he tells similar verse. He tells Akovida Kovida Veda Vadan. So like Krishna tells Asocyan Anvasochastam. So Jadabharat also answers. So what Jadabharat tells, why Jadabharat tells about the mind? So because the king acted because his mind was being affected by modes of passion. Because when Jadabharat starts replying, he tells Rajasa Tamasa Bhuyat. The mind is affected by the modes of, your mind is affected by the modes of passion and ignorance. Because of which you spoke with sarcasm and you spoke with an insulting tone. You are telling that you are doing your duty, but is it the duty of a king? Then he tells that, so you never thought before insulting me. So, and thirdly, your eyes are covered with pride, because of which you cannot see things properly. So Prabhupada writes that Maharaj Rahuguna is correct from the practical point of view, but it arises from an attachment to the bodily conception. So because of this, Jadabharat, he corrects Rahuguna by pointing out to the root of the problem, and that's why he starts describing about the nature of mind. So when Jadabharat starts describing about the nature of mind, so Jadabharat, he tells 9 characteristics of mind. So first characteristics is Vasanatma. The mind, because of its association with the material nature, it has sinful and pious vasanas. So sometimes we may have certain pious vasanas before coming to spiritual life, and sinful vasanas, and Vishaya Uparakta. Like the mind is addicted to sense enjoyment. So what is the problem with sense enjoyment? So like in Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he writes in 6th chapter, he writes that just as a needle cannot pierce iron rod, similarly our intelligence cannot pierce mind when it is filled with sense objects. It becomes pramati. To comment upon the word pramati, he tells this thing, that it cannot pierce. Even if I have also seen many times when at certain point when mind is too much is in passion or ignorance, it becomes so difficult to chant. You're convinced that I want to chant, but somehow that focus doesn't come. Or I want to study, I want to do some studies, but the focus doesn't come because the attachment to sense gratification inhibits that thing. And then he tells about Guna Prabha, that mind is infected by modes. Then it tells Vikrita. So mind has transformations like lust, greed and anger. Then mind is the chief of the 16 elements, the 10 senses and the 5 material elements. And then he tells Vibrat Prithak Namabhi Rupa Bhedam. So the mind becomes the cause of many bodies. Like in Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna tells Strotram chakshus parshanam cha rasanam ghranam evava adhishtaya manaschayam vishayan uvasivate. So all these senses are arranged around the mind. So, and this thing is very nice. Maya rachita antaratma. So the mind, although it is material, from where it is getting the energy? Because it is covering the soul. Just like gloves. If we wear gloves, so the gloves will also look like moving. And this mind is powered by the material nature. And then dukkham sukham vyatiriktam cha tivram. So causes unavoidable distress, happiness. And then it makes the living entity move around in the cycle of birth and death. So after telling all these things, so he gives this example of the elephant, mad elephant, the mind. And then then he tells that the mind is also the cause of bondage, but mind also can be the cause of liberation. And then he gives a very nice analogy that just like attached mind is like a lamp which burns improperly, as if the ghee is finished and it burns improperly. So when it burns improperly, it produces a lot of soot. But the detached mind is like a lamp which is having ghee. So in this Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he tells that when a mind is detached from sense gratification and it is tasting the sweetness of the Lord, so that time this kind of status is there. Prabhupada also writes in Bhagavad Gita, he writes that the soul should be strengthened by the association of the Lord. Then only one can control the mind. In the section of lust, Prabhupada writes this thing. So then he tells about the 11 functions of the mind, that how the senses are there, 5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring working senses are there, false ego is there. So although all the senses are there, but the signaling is done by the mind, whatever information that is there in the mind. He tells about that this 5 causes, so this 11 functions of the mind combining with the 5 material causes, they expand into hundreds, thousands and millions of things in the whole world. So then, having said about the conditioned soul, then Jadabharat tells about what is the difference between the conditioned soul and what is the difference between a liberated soul. So this is a very, very important thing which I found very interesting. So the conditioned soul, he is absorbed in his subtle body. So, and with his subtle body, he sees the conventional world. So like people don't see what they are. People don't see what others thinks they are. People see what they think others think they are. So that kind of conception the living entity has. So because of which the living entity is attached to the conventional world. And Jadabharat is telling to Rahugana that you see, you are a king, but don't too much believe in your conventional reality of being the king. You are too much absorbed and you think it all in all. So you should be absorbed in the Supreme Lord. So then that's why he discusses about he tells that a liberated soul, he sees the mind with an impartial vision. Because he is detached from his subtle body, he sees the mind with an impartial vision. And the liberated soul is absorbed in the Lord. So the conventional world is that someone is male, female, fat, thin, king, soldier, so everything. But the soul is neither of this. So Jadabharat was absorbed too much in this. So we estimate our success in this world because of our imagination. We have a certain imagination, we have a certain definition of success in this world, and if we get that, we become very joyful. And when we don't get that, we become very miserable. But that definition is coming from our subtle body, from our absorption with our subtle body. And that subtle body is material. It is not spiritual. So it is not going to give us satisfaction. So after telling this, so Jadabharat, he describes about the qualities of the Lord. Because Supreme Lord is the person in which the liberated soul is absorbed. He tells about that Supreme Lord is Atma, Purusha, the unrestricted controller, Purana, original, Sakshat, Swayam Jyotir, Ajaha, Paresha, Narayana, Bhagavan Vasudeva. So all these things, Swayam Maya Atmani Abadiyamana. So these qualities is, so when we focus on these qualities, because that's why Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur tells that there are two realities in this world. One is the super soul, and one is the soul, and second is the holy name of the Lord. Two spiritual things are there, and only those two things are going to remain. So that's why we should be absorbed in the qualities of the Supreme Lord. And after telling all these things, Jadabharat, he goes on to describe about the solution. He tells in the last verse of the chapter, he tells this very beautiful verse, Bhratravyamenam tad adabraviryam upekshayadhyeditam apramattah guru haresh sharana upasanastro jahi vyalikam swayamatma mosham. So he tells what is the solution to this mind. So the translation is like this: this uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy of the living entity. If one neglects it or gives it a chance, it will grow more and more and will become victorious. Although it is not factual, it is very strong. It covers the constitutional position of the soul. O King, please try to conquer this mind by the weapon of service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master and of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Do this with great care. So this is Prabhupada writes very nice purport. So first thing Srila Prabhupada writes, the easy weapon with which mind can be conquered is disobedience. So we should be, same thing Krishna also writes in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna tells, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthan manogatan. So a Sthita Pragya, what he does, he gives us the desires. Which kind of desires he gives up? The desires which are arising from the mind. So those kind of, so we should be disobedient. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he tells that beat the mind 100 times. First with the shoes and then with the broom. And the last and the most important solution, Srila Prabhupada writes, abide strictly by the orders of the spiritual master and engage in Lord's service. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also gives very nice commentary. So he tells that By neglecting it, it is defeated. Should not praise the mind by noticing it and giving it desired enjoyment. If you give the mind the desired enjoyment, it becomes. And last thing he writes that if we take shelter of the transformations of the mind, that is the lust, greed and anger, then mind grows very stronger. Very stronger. And lastly he tells, give with the weapon of the worship of the feet of the Lord and the lotus feet of the spiritual master. So this this is very much the mood and mission that Srila Prabhupada took up. Like like in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam also, where the description of bhakti comes. So there Sukadeva Goswami he tells first this verse, Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva prayana agham dhunvanti kachneya niharameva bhaskara. But to tell what is the meaning of this devotional service, what is this bhakti, he tells a very important verse. He tells ki na tatha hi aghavan rajan puyeta tapa adibhi yatha krishnarpita prana tat purusha nishevayat. So how this bhakti should be done? He tells ki na tatha hi aghavan rajan. If someone is sinful, he cannot be purified by tapa, he cannot be purified by charity, he cannot be purified by knowledge. How he can be purified? Tat purusha nishevaya. So one should serve a bona fide devotee of the Lord. So when one serves a bona fide devotee of the Lord, then one can get the service of the Lord. So in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam also, about when it comes about Mahiyasam Padarajobhishekam. So there also I had heard from Prabhuji only, Samarpan Gopru. Prabhuji had told a very nice thing. Ki the intelligence should touch the dust of the lotus feet of the pure devotee. It is not only that physically we have to touch, the intelligence has to touch. And what it means? It means that it should take bath in the wonderful qualities of the pure devotee and the knowledge that the pure devotee is giving. So then when we do that, then we can come in contact with the dust of the Supreme Lord. So, and that is what here Jadabharat is telling. Hare Guru's Charanas Upasanastro. So like in Srila Prabhupada's life also we see how Prabhupada took this as his main mood and mission. Prabhupada told that I don't have any qualification. My only qualification is that I have sincerely followed the words of my spiritual master. I have not changed anything. So like there is one very nice pastime in this book, Juhu, the Juhu story. So there one incident is there where Tamal Krishna Maharaj has a dream. So Maharaj was undergoing an operation. So Maharaj had a dream. So in that dream, Maharaj tells this thing to Prabhupada. So Maharaj tells ki, Prabhupada, I saw this dream that you were reporting to Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj and Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur that the people of this planet, they are not austere, they are not, they don't have any knowledge, they don't have any cleanliness, they don't have anything. But only thing is that they have accepted my lotus feet as all in all. So then Prabhupada told, yes, it is a fact. So that is actually the qualification that we can have. It's not that I have. We can have by taking the lotus feet of spiritual master and Srila Prabhupada's all in all and following their instructions, taking it to heart. Like once Prabhupada was this incident I had heard, ki Prabhupada had taught this Saligram Sila worship to Pradyumna Prabhu. So Pradyumna Prabhu, during the Guru Puja time, he would go and he would do this worship of Saligram. So then Prabhupada once called him, ki, why you are not there in Guru Puja? He told Prabhupada, I am worshipping Saligram during that time. So then Prabhupada told ki, it is more important to attend Guru Puja than to worship Saligram during that time. So that is the mood that Srila Prabhupada has given to us. So Guru, he gives the strength. So the sword of knowledge is given by Krishna in the Shastras, but Guru gives us the strength by which we can lift the sword of knowledge and we can disobey the mind. So that's why taking shelter of spiritual mastery is very important. Some personal instructions that I have noted. Prabhupada writes in one purport, one should not neglect austerities and penances. One should always perform them. And so the austerity of mind is satisfaction, simplicity. So simplicity means simple living. So more we become, more we live simply, so more the mind remains also simple. So duplicity agitates the mind. Silence. So when we talk unnecessarily, it also agitates the mind. So like prajalpanyam. So prajalpa, it destroys bhakti, and one more important thing, disturbs the mind. One more thing is self-control. Self-control means this vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam. So in this purport to austerity of mind, Prabhupada again and again writes to control the mind means to take it away from sense gratification. So that is the main thing. And Prabhupada writes one purport that hearing about Krishna purges the mind of its impurities. So, but the hearing should be prolonged and it should be qualitative. And Prabhupada, one very important thing is that mind must admit to some superior dictation and follow it. Because mind is like an unchaste woman. So women cannot be independent. Similarly, our mind in our conditioned state, we cannot be independent. So we have to accept some superior dictation. And otherwise we'll be following our mind. And regular reading of Srimad Bhagavatam, because as we are so absorbed in our subtle body, to become free from the subtle body, we have to regularly absorb in the sound vibration of the Supreme Lord, especially in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. And engaging in service and absorption in the spiritual form of the Lord. The material form agitates, but the spiritual form of the Lord, it elevates. Cultivating mode of goodness. It is very important that we cultivate mode of goodness, and avoiding too much of solitude. Because when we are in too much of solitude, some amount of solitude is necessary for contemplation and to do some qualities, spiritual practices. But too much of solitude actually gives us in control of mind. Like, let's say I am chanting in the temple hall. So I cannot play with my smartphone. But if I am chanting in my office, so I can play with my smartphone. So that is, I felt it is visible sadhana is very, very important. So some preaching applications. So Prabhupada writes that in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada writes that disturbance in mind is because of not having an ultimate goal of life. So that's why people. So in few years back, there was a topper in IIT who had he committed suicide in his third year. So he wrote in his suicide note that I don't find any purpose in my life left. So what is the purpose for me to live? So when we tell people about the goal of life, so that's why it is said that when goal becomes hazy, then mind becomes crazy. So that's why it's very important. And we should engage people in practical services. This thing Raisham was telling recently, that many people cannot sit down and hear for a long time, but if they are engaged in practical services, then gradually they will get the desire to hear. So we should educate them about the Sambandha Gyan, we should train them, and we should engage them, and we should empower them. And we should increasing the sukriti of people by seed sowing programs like our Harinam Sankirtan, book distribution, prasadam distribution, teaching people about the right definition of success. People have a very wrong definition of success. That's why people many times take to the wrong path. And creating faith in the holy name of Lord, which is the best method of cleansing mind. People try to do pranayama and all those things. So those were intermediary solutions, but holy name is the ultimate solution. And sometimes I've seen that I get into argumentative mood with people about philosophy. It actually disturbs their mind also, and it disturbs our mind also. We can give Krishna consciousness as much as they can accept. The mood and mission. So Prabhupada writes that ours is a 24 hours movement. So engaging mind fully in Krishna conscious activities. So simple living and high thinking. So Prabhupada has given us a very simple way of living, because of which it becomes wearing simple clothes and very standardized principles of devotional service, where there is no scope for mental speculation. Like morning program, everything is defined. Which tune we have to sing, how long, everything is defined. So deity worship, timings, everything, what items, what kind of worship. Prabhupada has given everything in his books. So there is no scope for mental speculation as such. So different kinds of people, different kinds of engagements for different kinds of people. And lastly, two main mood and missions that Prabhupada gave was chanting of the holy names and strictly following. So, like when this three couples had gone to London, so they asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, how come we became successful where your many God brothers failed? So Prabhupada tells that it is because you had complete faith in me. That's why you could become successful. And because the Prabhupada had told them to chant Hare Krishna, so they went and chanted Hare Krishna. So, and lastly, that is Yukta Vairagya. So Prabhupada writes in the purport that devotee is never distressed or satisfied by material opulence. So devotee is neither attached to material opulence, neither he is averse to material opulence. So whatever is necessary for pleasing the Supreme Lord should try to accept. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you. It was very nice presentation on nature of the mind. My question is, when we are trying to control the mind, sometimes it appears that we have some control. So then we tend to get little complacent when we are. It's not like we are going beyond the boundaries, but as we are in the preaching mission, we might, at least I might feel sometimes that some knowledge about what in Ishopanishad avidya means, the so-called knowledge, sometimes we try to explore. So, and that then, as you told the example of that boy who's playing with this game, it cascades and it goes off. So, how to deal with this? What is it? We only have to judge whether it is useful or not. We may find that it is useful and it may help also. But at the same time, we have to see that what is ultimately beneficial for us. So I always get this tug of war in my heart. So some thoughts.
But generally, I see it is that obviously same thing we also face in preaching, that some places we may have to little bit extend, or some gray zones are there, generally gray zones. So, but what I feel, we can have two levels of protection. One is on a equal level. We should have some devotees who are surrounding us, and we inform them of what we are doing, whatever intentions, whatever general things we are doing. And second thing is that if some superior, we can get it sanctioned or we can inform him, then they can foresee some things. Equals can also foresee some things, and the superiors also can foresee some things what may be dangerous for us, or what may little bit take us away. If we do these two things, then I feel we can be safe.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, online devotees, do you have any questions? At least once online devotee can ask in history. See, this time no one ask anything. There, maybe I'll try to ask something. So, my question is about generally brahmachari life, where we see, as you told, some examples of getting fully engaged and consciously following morning program, etc. So it seems that in spite of doing all these things also, person appeared to get affected by mind. very dedicated, very sincere. So, how do we understand? Because the only thing we have to deal with this one person, actually, that is mind for brahmachari. So, in spite of that kind of thing, how one gets, even others understand that actually it's not logical, but still that person is with that. So, how do we be careful that, in spite of doing all these things, at least visibly, so still people appear to get affected for our conditioned vision by the mind in the history or whatever, history of ISKCON, history of our ashram or whatever. So can you please help to, in spite of having full engagement, in spite of doing things regularly, so what can be the reason?
Try to. I am myself troubled by the mind. I can try. Actually, what I could understand uh, by this preparation is that it is because my mind is actually powered by Maya. So Maya is that Krishna tells Daivihi Yesha Guna Mai Mama Maya Duratya. So it is very the like His Holiness Gaur Govind Swami Maharaj writes a book, Formidable Foe. So it's a very formidable foe. So that's why we have to be dependent on the Lord. That's all. Whatever has happened because even there are devotees who are much more sincere than what I may be at this point of time. So 100,000 times more sincere, but at least the basic principles I can try to follow and hope and pray that Lord protects us. Like being accountable to superiors and doing all visibly, as you told, visibly doing all forms of sadhana and what are the necessary things. But at the same time, I have to depend on the Supreme Lord so that maybe Lord protects at the right time, gives me the right remembrance at the right time, so that I don't get carried away by this mind. That I feel is the only hope, in spite of doing so much.
Hare Krishna. I'm sorry for coming out very late. The last few slides I was there. Actually, generally, if we tell the people that you are not the body, you are soul, people are happy to accept. But biggest challenge nowadays is they identify too much, not with the body, but with the mind too much. The mind, especially some specific cases are there where some people, they are so much bogged up with the mind and the thoughts. So it becomes very difficult to even guide them sometimes. In such situations, what should we do? Should we better maintain distance from such people or give him sometimes I don't know psychology whether it will help or not, but so sometimes this kind of cases come in nowadays youths. So how to handle?
Yeah, it's very nowadays cases coming. This mental kind of cases are very difficult. So what I feel is what I could understand is that some ways if they can be engaged in devotional service, like whatever is palatable to them, because they are completely under the mind. So whatever their mind is ready to accept, if it is in the form of prasadam, if it is in the form of some form of bhakti or some devotee, if they are able to appreciate, if they can remain connected to them, then that is better for them, and gradually that will elevate them, and some form of service they are ready to render. So depends on specific situation to situation, but what is the specific situation of a person, and then if we engage in some form, then gradually maybe he may be uplifted. That otherwise there is no hope. If they don't find hope in Krishna consciousness, then there is no hope. But some form, if they can remain connected to, then hope gradually they may elevate in due course of time. That I feel.
Who wants to give about the presentation? Who are there? Two of you. Yes, you can comment at least. You are thinking about your.
So Hare Krishna, it was very wonderful presentation in the sense, very shastrically Prabhuji brought it from various quotes of Srila Prabhupada, many shlokas he quoted, and very deeply studied, in the sense he had a depth of study also on this topic of nature of mind. The topic is not so easy in that section, Rahuguna section, and that wherein this nature of mind is being discussed. So Prabhuji's presentation, we could understand it was very deeply studied one, and also he could convey the ideas very profoundly, so that everybody can understand in a simpler way. One, not as an improvement I can say, but the color of the slides were in a way that the sentences were not sometimes visible. That was one thing which I noticed, and they were little smaller one. Projector that so otherwise it was very wonderful presentation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Dauji Nityanand Prabhu, thank you very much for very wonderful presentation. Overall it was having most of the aspects whatever were expected, like beginning with just following footsteps of Kanai Krishna Prabhu, how he is serving, so just trying to learn something. So presentation skills very nice, very good, in spite of very few audience you were seeing here, and it was everything, diction and was perfect pace and everything. Coming to understanding, that was the very nicely explained, I felt, and you quoted verses from memory, and as Kanai Krishna Prabhu also said that very few devotees did that. So it's a very important aspect. Neither I also mentioned that. It is expected that it should be from memory, and you did quote, and they were also very pertinent verses from Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. And the understanding portion, actually I like that beginning. For youth preachers or anyone, it's a very real story, that boy's story. So that's very good beginning, that this is the condition, current condition. So, and understanding the Sanskrit verse, the words and the meanings, actually this is the very ideal way of presentation. It becomes more and more authentic, like that verse, Vasanatma, that is the nature of mind in essence. So very nicely you told. And the solution, like both. So very nice. That is the very good way of explanation, actually. Understanding the subject. And you did quote specific meaning of verses, the words from Chakravarti Thakur. So this is what, as Prabhu also said, very nice presentation in terms of understanding. And then coming to preaching application also, that goal of life has to be there, and many other aspects, they were perfect. And Prabhupada quotations were also very pertinent. If we don't chant attentively, I think that from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So
this section only. In this section only.
Oh really? I thought it is in Chaitanya Charitamrita that we will not, Haridas Thakur mercy will not get allured. If you don't chant attentively, you will be victimized, something like that.
This is from
This is from Bhagavatam only.
This section, 5.6.
Oh, so that's a very foundational thing. So it was very clear. And of course, the personal application was also nicely elaborated. First, some lessons you gave initially, and then later, full slide of personal application, which was very relevant for brahmacharis, and from Bhagavad Gita you told practices of simplicity, etc. So, what I felt was we can go more into brahmachari life application also. It would have been better. That's why I asked a question about, in spite of being fully engaged, in spite of being visible everywhere, still person appears to have, we don't know what is the truth, but appears to have mind somewhere else. So, what is, so I felt that some kind of guidelines would have been spoken for brahmachari. As Radheshampu presents, I think one seminar, brahmachari and mind. So actually the only fight for brahmachari is his own existence. For other ashrama, there is so many external things are there to fight, and in that they are busy. So brahmachari has to introspect and know who is he and what kind of mind is there and how it can be engaged in Krishna's service. Otherwise, even if he is busy, where is the mind? We don't know. So actually I felt that is something which can be thought of, and because it's happening, it has happened in the past, in the ISKCON's history, and in future also. So as you said, actually the essence of bhakti is dependence, right? So that has to be, it is very internal thing. It's not like once Haltar Maharaj was telling that here in Sharanagati seminar only, that if we are praying that this year we did this much, next year we want to double it or whatever. So if such kind of prayer is quite superficial. He was, not that everyone prays is like that, but he was telling that there is a doership there. That we did this much, I did this much or whatever. And next time we want to do for Prabhupada and mission and Guru only. But there is a doership. So he said this prayer is quite superficial. Because what is missing there? The word which you used. What is that? Dependence.
Lord wills.
Dependence on Lord. So in heart of heart, a brahmachari or anyone does anything, if he thinks he is doer, that is a complete illusion. So it's a very deep-rooted thing. So, and dependence on Lord, and Lord dependence is of course devotees dependent. Means, as you said, consulting superiors and expressing them. So that is the time, because crisis time is the time of check, dependence and what is asked. So I felt that can be added in personal application, and maybe some brahmachari examples also are and that direction about personal application. You did say that, of course, the programs, morning program and all you were saying, right? So one thing is attending that, other thing is fully there with the mind and heart. Because we by default we have to attend, there is attendance, right? If you don't attend, then report comes at the end of month. But our body is there, whether mind is there, if mind is there, whether it is in Guru or Tulsi or chanting or Bhagavatam, or where somewhere else mind is. That is something very, very important. That we are meditating on the meaning of because that's what mind means. What we are thinking about. Whose dependence, whose pleasure. So I felt that like these things are, because every day everyone is doing that. Practically most of us, especially here in Pune, we are blessed that morning program and all is by mercy of Radheshyam Prabhu. So however, there also, like once one very senior devotee was telling me, actually we are conditioned to morning program now by this training. So when he was sick also, he said, I got up and came and sat on chair. So that is the mercy of the training, he was saying. Very honestly he was saying. So conditioned, one can give conditioned for good things also. But what is important is where is the mind in that morning program. As Radheshyam Prabhu says, pre-Bhagavatam spirit post-Bhagavatam spirit. So that is the mind is catching. That in morning program, are we thinking about what we will do during the day? I will do this, that. So that is not best. So that is about the mind. So I felt that it can be more elaborated for brahmachari application in terms of, because they have to deal with that only. And yeah, preaching application. And you did make nice point of that. The only solution, as Jad Bharat gives, actually Jad Bharat also speak Mahatpada Rajobhishekan. Same thing which is spoken by Prahlad and same thing which spoke. So that is the only thing, when mind is attracted or subtle body is attracted to a Vaishnava and his Nam Rup Gun Lila. No? There is no other thing in this world. What Prahlad says, Naisham Matis Tavat Rukramangri Sprushatyanarth. Same. So mind or Mati, only by getting attracted and bathing in the dust of a Vaishnava's personality, as you said, quoting Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So that is very wonderful application. That is the only solution. And coming to, yeah, and personal application was nicely discussed. Mood and mission. So I think here Prabhupada, as he expects us to actually go through his books, right? Means once I think Sundar Shampu showed me this statement from Chaitanya Charitamrita, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's spiritual master told him to study Srimad Bhagavatam regularly with scrutiny to gradually become attached to chanting of Hare Krishna mantra. And Prabhupada expected us to read also his books, I think 1 hour, 2 hours, something like that. So that is something very direct connection with pure devotee. So especially for brahmacharis, because Swadhyaya is the dharma, Swadhyaya and Seva. Right? Both, only 2 dharmas. So that I think can be spoken. You did mention about study and all that, but I felt it can be elaborated, because that's what will teach us what is a problem. To be very frank, when I studied this section, that time I felt I am very close to person like Rahugan. So first he is surrendering, right? He just got down, surrendered, and then started asking very logical questions. अरे आप जो बता रहे हैं practical नहीं है. So it's very deep rooted. It's very, very deep rooted. So unless we go through Shastra deeply, especially as brahmacharis, then it's very difficult to detect the mind. Because Shastra will tell us, this is mind, as you said correctly, very difficult to know the voice. Is it mind's voice or Guru's voice or spiritual voice, whatever, Krishna's super soul. So it's very difficult, and persons become lonely, not reveal their problems, right? So that's the dependence, means we are not alone fighting, as simple as that. But generally sometimes people fight alone and they get affected. So dependence, but that dependence will come when we depend on Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. So I feel that because that's what has happened over the many years, and we have to continue fighting. Only fight is that one. Then coming to questions, I think I didn't understand your question fully, but is it that we go into some materialistic knowledge for sake of preaching and we may end up getting distracted like that? Is what was that the question? Yeah, something. Yeah, so my understanding of it is that yes, we may need to be relevant to the audience. However, we have to becoming relevant, as I think Radheshambhu also says, something is very important happening around, it will come to you through someone, either boy or some other brahmachari, some very, which everyone should know that information, it will come to you. Second thing, I felt that it can be done because we have to be relevant, so we have to know some things. However, along with that, we have to be very careful to know the core message which we want to give. As I think who says that like bridge preaching means what? You are learning something what is happening around and then bringing them here. So first means we have to be quite trying to be clear about what is the message also, not how to make it attractive only. So that I feel that relevance also is important surely, but the original message of the parampara and having great faith and taste for that message only, the core message. And then you make it attractive, otherwise time will go in that. Why we go? Because some attraction of earlier attraction, as you said, that boy case. So we have to be attracted into the core message of, then we will not get distracted, because distraction happens by alternate attraction, isn't it? What is distraction? It's alternate attraction only, that's it. So I feel that because lot of time goes in that. So that is some thought about getting distracted. And as Vedvyas also, Vedvyas also, of course he didn't go into that knowledge, but basically bridge preaching kind of thing. And what Sharad Purnima Prabhu asked, that is the biggest problem nowadays. People are completely off and they are dealing with so many problems. Yesterday only one devotee was saying, so this is all pervading. So connection, as he said, that is one thing, that we remain connected. Other thing I felt that these people, if we can identify something they like and don't tell that in means some activity they appreciate, like nature, some activity they can do, and they have been doing earlier, but same thing for Krishna. So give some engagement, because that's what Krishna is telling in the 3rd chapter, that we have to begin with senses, some activity in some festival or some program, something they are little passionate about, generally they are not, some of them are very dull or something, but something they like, some activity or something like that. So I feel I should not say grosser, but external some engagement according to what they have been doing, detailed in our Krishna consciousness. That is one thing I felt, because that engagement can cause purification. Because they are engaged in service. If they follow you, then that is another thing by which they can get purified. Otherwise, very difficult. They are quite self-absorbed and in their own world only they are. They don't come out also. Yesterday only I think, one devotee was telling his sister's big brother, 25 years old, is not doing anything. Completely inactive. So these problems are happening nowadays. A very serious problem. So I think some physical things can be given according to their things in terms of Krishna consciousness. Yes, so, and coming to some, like you quoted that Avanti Brahmans. So when I read that thing, actually if a brahmachari gets conviction of this verse, so I feel that this is just a humble thought, that Avanti Brahmana's first prayer is brahmachari life and last prayer is sannyas. So that's the journey. So last prayer is chanted by Mahaprabhu, Etam Sasthaya Paratmanis. First verse is, he is convinced that there is no problem in temple, there is no problem with authority, there is no problem in service, there is no problem with association, there is no problem in facilities. The only problem I have is my mind. So if he at least theoretically, if he gets convinced and tries to deal with it through Swadhyaya and Sadachar and obedience, then he can deal with it. At least he can get convinced that yes, only problem is that only. Otherwise there is no problem. So as Chaitanya Prabhu says, identify the mind. He uses the word identify, don't identify with mind, but identify the mind, like that he says. So that's the only struggle for us in the sense of renunciates, brahmacharis, if we are able to deal with mind. So it was a very important topic which you chose and gave very nice justice to most of the applications, and understanding and personal application was very nicely covered, I felt. Other two aspects, I felt some things can be added. So, yes, Dauji Nityanand Bhav, thank you. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So I seek the blessings of all Vaishnavas, especially His Grace Samarpan Go Prabhu, that I speak in parampara and for my own purification. So this is a very important topic for specifically brahmacharis, willful neglect and misplaced compassion, because most of us are involved in preaching, and on a daily basis we are actually expected to be very alert. So this is a very wonderful topic. I would like to begin with a story, actually a real story of a brahmachari. Now also he is a brahmachari, but then he was earlier a teacher in a coaching institute, and he for 2-3 years he was teaching there. So 1 year there was because in coaching institutes you need to sometimes give counseling, specifically JEE preparation and all. Many times the results will not be good. So in that course of his teaching, he came across a girl student, and she was very much impressed by his teaching also, and she started approaching him, and he also kept kind of guiding him in her studies and all. Later on he joined temple and he came in brahmacharya ashram, but still during the course of his first year of brahmachari life in the ashram during PDC, he was still keeping in touch with the girl, and then very regularly, in the sense frequently, on a daily basis, she used to call, and he used to also keep counseling, and many of the times he used to talk in the night. So this was a very alarming situation for him. And then later on it actually came in notice of the authorities, and then he was taken into taken to task or something like that. And then of course he was given a warning, and somehow or other by Krishna's grace he was saved, and he is nicely serving now. But then we can clearly see, because he was in their course of discussion and all, he later on actually revealed that he got emotionally involved, and because of that he could not avoid. So this is a very, very good example of misplaced compassion, and that's why he because of this he neglected his own sadhana. But later, because of the mercy of devotees, now he is into proper practice and cut off the connection. So in one sense, compassion is very natural for a Vaishnava, and in that too for Bharat Maharaj, because he was Kshatriya, it is his natural duty to offer protection. So that's why from this pastime we can easily understand that, of course, परम पूज्य राधा गोविंद महाराज टेल्स, अगर दया आपके भक्ति में बाधा बनता है तो उसे भी त्याग देना चाहिए, So even many advanced devotees must remain very cautious by seeing this pastime of Bharat Maharaj. And then what to talk about the sadhakas like us? A lot, and of course, we can, in one sense, we can understand that Lord sometimes uses his pure devotee to teach conditioned souls. Such instructions he would like to give it to us, so that we remain very cautious. Cautious of Maya and conscious of Krishna. And that's why he puts his pure devotee to teach some valuable lessons, like many pastimes we see. So example is given of a mother-in-law correcting a daughter-in-law by instructing her own daughter. So a daughter-in-law is compared to conditioned souls. Pure devotees are like daughter, and Lord is like mother. So these divine pastimes, so this should not be seen as an ordinary event. So with this we'll begin. So content first will be understanding Bharata's exalted position. King Bharat was a very exalted devotee, and still he had to undergo such circumstance. So and his willful neglect, because of that he misplaced compassion, and then affection was there, attachment, and then illusion. And of course we will also see many personal application, preaching application, and mood and mission. So we need to first understand also, we need to understand how actually exalted Bharat Maharaj was. So in 7th chapter it is being told that he was a very Krishna conscious ruler. He was very learned and experienced king on this earth. He perfectly ruled the citizens. This comes in 7th canto. And being himself engaged in his own respective duties. And in fact he was very affectionate to his citizens as his father. And then there is another shloka. And in spite of having such big kingdom, and then wife, children, and such a big praja, he gave it up. And that is being told in this shloka, which comes actually later in the glorification of Bharat Maharaj. In the later chapters, in 14th chapter it comes. Yo distijan dara sutan surhit rajyam hridis prishah jahav yuyaiva malavad uttama shloka lalasa. So he gave up such grand kingdom, wife, children, kinsmen, just as somebody who passes stool. So like that he gave it up. So such was a renunciation of Bharat Maharaj. Also, so in this way and we also see how after giving it up he went to Pulaha ashram and then started engaging in devotional service. And naturally, because in 7th canto only it is being told that when he engaged in devotional service he could attain many ecstatic emotions for the Lord. In this translation it is being told that naturally his love for Vasudeva Krishna it evolved, and consequently he gradually lost all attachment for regulative duties. The hairs of his body stood on end and all the ecstatic bodily symptoms were manifest. Tears flowed from his eyes, and so much so that he could not see anything. Thus he constantly meditated on the reddish lotus feet of the Lord. So he was on the stage of a bhava. And then from that now we see what happens. As the story goes, Bharat Maharaj was performing his worship at Pulaha ashram, and one day while he was engaged in worship, a pregnant doe came to drink water from a nearby stream. At that time a lion roared, and because of that roar the deer became frightened and attempted to cross the stream. So in that process she had a miscarriage, and the baby deer fall in the stream of water. But after crossing the river, the doe died because of fatigue. So seeing all this, of course this whole scene was being watched by Bharat Maharaj, and he was a very elevated spiritual personality. He developed compassion for the deer, and out of compassion he went and brought the baby deer to his ashram. And after bringing it there, he began taking care of it, nourishing it. Now we see. So this is a brief overview of his fall down of King Bharat, that he felt compassion. Then he became negligent in his duties. He felt a lot of affection for the deer, attraction. And then because of that he got distracted. And then when the deer got lost, he was completely absorbed in lamentation. And then of course that pastime goes ahead. So So he began gradually, while maintaining and raising the deer, he became completely negligent in his spiritual duties. He began associating constantly with the deer, walking with it, eating with it, thinking about it. And because of constantly being involved in such activities, his attachment grew so deep that he went to, so we will be seeing ahead. So while worshipping also, he was getting distracted. He could sometimes interrupt his worship, check whether the deer is there or not. And thus he became completely disturbed and distracted by being overwhelmed by the attachment for the deer. And yes. So that's why then we see that how this willful neglect happens from his side. So very nice, Prabhupada mentions in the purport that spiritual salvation and liberation from material bondage must be worked out with great caution. Otherwise, a little discrepancy, even if a little discrepancy, will cause one to fall down again into material existence. So momentary neglect leads to big consequences. We see in many of the cases, like for example, generally it's told, accidents, they actually happen, the big accidents happens on a highways, wherein the drivers are actually driving very fast, and suddenly he gets a slip or dozes off, and such a big accident happens. So he gets a jhapki, we tell in Hindi. So similarly in spiritual life also, while we are practicing, when we become careless about our duties, regular duties, then that is also called, that can be also called as a spiritual jhapki. So kitchen, like in many of the aspects, like in kitchen, if our mother becomes careless or something happens, then fire can get caught up. So similarly, spiritual life also suffers by a momentary neglect. Even advanced practitioners can fall apart due to slight deviation. So how does this deviation also happens? Neglecting. See, Bharat Maharaj also continued his rituals, but initially it was like niyam. We tell niyamagraha. Either he was doing it as a matter of duty, or very ritualistically he was doing for just as a mechanical practice. So performing our duties merely for formality leads to eventually neglect. And he offered oblations while watching the deer, showing distraction. And so that's why a mere show of worship without focused consciousness has no benefit. Like we can see there also in that picture that how he is offering ahuti into the fire for Lord Vishnu, but where is he looking for? He is looking for deer. And his heart became attracted to the deer while his rituals are happening just as a matter of duty. So this is a very serious point. If we perform our morning program also for the sake of just doing it, eventually we give it up many of the times, and that's how it starts. So one should perform spiritual activities with respect, attention, absorption, sincerity, seriousness, and there should be desire to elevate our consciousness by doing all these activities. So if at all we do it just as a mere show, then it doesn't actually help us a lot. So that's why in this connection there is so Maya also acts like that only. It enters like a needle and comes out like a plow. So we all know this story of sheikh and camel. So there is a famous story. In the desert it was very cold and the sheikh was peacefully resting. In the sense, not peacefully. Sheikh was resting peacefully inside the tent, and then the camel asked sheikh that, can you allow me to come inside the tent? And the sheikh replied, no, there is no space. So then he again and again requested, little bit, at least let me put my head inside. And the sheikh, actually he allowed a little portion of the camel to come inside, and eventually he found that he himself is out of the tent. So similarly, we are in the ashram practicing Krishna consciousness. Maya Devi also enters through our giving some small such kind of allurements to our mind. She may tell, my dear Prabhu, you have been practicing for so many years. And morning programs, so many morning programs you have attended. So you have been chanting Hare Krishna, attending Bhagavatam class so sincerely. If one day you miss the class, one day you wake up late, no problem. It will not matter much. And then you can chant later in the day. You are very advanced. You already have so much taste in chanting. So mind, this inner as Prabhuji was mentioning about the mind. So this is how mind cheats us. Yeah? So if we listen to the mind in this way, we'll see that eventually months may pass without attending Bhagavatam class, without attending Guru Puja or Mangalarti, and this may cause the major fall down then later on comes. So therefore, when Mayavad Devi approaches us like this, we should actually use our intelligence and remember our Guru's instruction that we should attend Mangalarti, worship the deities, and not just do it as a matter of duty. And then again, going ahead, from this we can understand how we have to be very cautious in executing our spiritual duties by observing rules and regulations and chanting. And this is again mentioned in the, Prabhupada mentions in the purport 5.8.8 that if we neglect doing this, we eventually will fall down. We must rise early in the morning, bathe, attend Mangalarti, worship deities, chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, study Vedic literatures, and follow the rules prescribed by the acharyas and spiritual master. If we deviate from this process, we may fall down even though we may be very highly advanced. So because of his intense attachment to dear, Bharat Maharaj deviated from the path of spiritual life, which caused his fall down, even though he was very highly advanced. So like that. Therefore it is stated that even if person is highly advanced, one should not give up the performance of yajna, dana, tapa. One should not give up the rules and regulations. One should think oneself. One should not think oneself very advanced simply because Prabhupada mentions in the purport that once somebody has accepted sannyas order, it should not. So he's actually telling this for sannyasis also. Even sannyasis should not give up the rules and regulations. And so also we can think just. So we can think like that. So some of the so we also have so many such kind of deers in our life who keeps on distracting us, like the smartphone we have. We have attraction to opposite sex. When we go for preaching and all, then we come across so many billboards and all. So we should be very careful that we do not develop attachment to all these things and deviate from the spiritual path. So like that Prabhupada is mentioning. And then Prabhupada mentions about the misplaced compassion. So what is the real compassion? So we should be compassionate by raising one from spiritual material platform to spiritual platform. Otherwise, at any moment, our spiritual advancement may be spoiled. We may fall down to the material platform. So that's why Prabhupada explains that so if compassion is not guided by spiritual wisdom, it can become misplaced and may even obstruct one's spiritual progress. We are trying to save somebody, other person, but our progress may get obstructed. So like that. So the compassion. Here the main theme which Prabhupada also tells that compassion on the bodily platform, one cannot actually truly help anybody. If we want to give a real help to somebody, means elevating a living entity from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness. So in this case, it had become impossible it was actually impossible for King Bharat to elevate the deer to spiritual platform, and therefore his compassion was actually misplaced compassion. But on the other hand, we see many other examples like in Chaitanya Lila. Every year, this Shivanand Sen would take a group of devotees from Navadip to Jagannath Puri for the Rath Yatra. And one year, a dog joined their party. Out of compassion, Shivanand Sen took care of the dog and provided for all its needs. After some days, however, the dog went missing, and he became very concerned. Later, it was found that when they reached Jagannath Puri, this dog had received the mercy of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and was liberated. So one of the important point is that although Shivanand Sen also took care of the dog, he did not neglect his spiritual duties, his regular duties, and he was into association. And similarly, in our brahmachari life also we see if we have to take care of sometimes parents and all. When the brahmachari stays in ashram, if the parents are old, he has to take responsibility to take care of them. But while doing so, for example, when they are in the hospital, if they are in hospital, we should ensure that we doesn't neglect our own sadhana, our own services in the ashram, because our identification should be more towards Guru and Krishna than towards our parents, and we should see them also part and parcel of Krishna, and that's how we should take care of them. So like that. And because we need to understand that Krishna is the ultimate maintainer and ultimate protector, and that I am simply just an instrument. Also, as far as again Prabhupada mentions in the 9th verse purport, as far as the material body is concerned, we cannot do anything for anyone. However, by the grace of Krishna, we may raise a person to spiritual consciousness. If we ourselves follow the rules and regulation, if we give up our own spiritual activities and simply become concerned with the bodily comforts of others, we will fall into dangerous position. Again and again he is mentioned. Because on the bodily level, on the material platform, we cannot actually help anybody. Like we see, a Luna is there, a car and an aeroplane is there. They all have different speeds. We cannot change the speed of a Luna to become like an aeroplane. Similarly, people's material conditions, they are determined by their karma, and they cannot be simply altered by our efforts. Like in many of the times, people, they try to elevate this or help this people of slums. Many times we have seen government has give them a different kind of setup wherein they can peacefully, nicely stay. But still, we will see once they get some accommodation, good accommodation, they will rent it and again they will live in the slum only. Because they don't want to come out from that situation. So Prabhupada, that's why explains that instead of working on the bodily platform or performing only social service, it is better to change people's consciousness from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness. If people become devotees, they will receive opportunity to go back home, back to God. That is, and then their life can become actually successful, and all their miseries can come to an end. So here again, Prabhupada compares material welfare to spiritual welfare. Material conditions are largely determined by karma. That's why philanthropic activities, altruistic activities, they can provide a temporary relief but not lasting satisfaction. Actually, the spiritual consciousness can only give the real satisfaction. And that's why we see in many, this comparison I was hearing from Rajesh Prabhu, that Sudama was very poor materially, but yet he was satisfied because he was very Krishna conscious. And on the other hand, a very rich person like Hiranyakashipu also, he ruled the universe. He was Trilokadipati, but still he was very dissatisfied. So like that. And then again in 10th, material, this as we were discussing, the only benefit we can render to suffering beings is to try to raise them to spiritual consciousness. And this Prabhupada mentions this, quotes this shlokas, that tasaiva hetu prayateto kovido nalabhyate yad brahmatam uparidah tallabhyate dukkavad anyatau sukhau kalena sarvatra gabhira ramasa. So as far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time. And again, this another quotation from Prahlad Maharaj section, that he while he is instructing to his classmates. So these are very two important verses in this connection. That's why material happiness and distress, they cannot be changed by our efforts. Therefore, when one attains human form of life, one should strive for that which cannot be obtained by wandering through 14 planetary systems. So like that. So Prabhupada explains that although Bharat Maharaj knew it was an animal, he should have actually developed, he should not have developed excessive attachment. It was impossible for him to change his condition. So similarly, people also, they try to feed poor. They will also tell us also that why are you not, instead of building such big temples, why are you not feeding to poor people? So much good things can be done. But if you give food today, it will be digested, converted into stool. And tomorrow again they will come and ask, again do. And this will go on for lifetime together, but nothing will happen. Their consciousness will not get changed. So affection leads to attachment, and also so we see this as the days progressed. Bharat Maharaj actually developed intense attachment toward the deer by doing all this poshanam. He maintained the deer, palana, protecting the deer, lalana, showing affection to the deer by kissing it, and different activities he started doing. So such kind of material attachment then causes one to get illusion. So this is we see. So these are different symptoms of illusion, wherein excessive attachment to material object, emotional imagination, they start praising it. You can imagine early some shlokas in this section, they tell that he starts saying that this whole earth is being very fortunate because the deer footprint are there. So like, which we actually say it for Supreme Lord. Now Bharat Maharaj, who was such exalted personality, he is saying it for deer. So such kind of symptom of moha, anxiety, and then so many glorifying like that. So such kind of symptoms of moha actually Bharat Maharaj started showing. And then attachment actually ultimately led to downfall. So unless we increase our faith in Supreme Lord, we shall be attached to many other things, and that is the cause of material bondage. We see in the case of Ajamil also, although he was such a good Brahmana, but still he got distracted. And also Krishna Das, even he was in the association of Supreme Lord himself, but he still got deviated. So like that. Prabhupada explains that while preaching we may be engaged in many material activities, but we must always remember that everything is for Krishna. If one maintains this consciousness by material facilities such as smartphone, internet, travel, or any other conveniences, if one has such kind of consciousness, then they will not get distracted by that. So eventually Bharat Maharaj became distracted by his worship, and then at the end all of us know that Bharata leaves the body. So Bharat Maharaj leaves the body, and because he's having remembrance of deer, so ultimately he gets the body of a deer, yam yam api param bhavan. So here Prabhupada mentions that it is actually it is the power of bhakti that all his previous reactions were nullified, and it was actually because of the purposeful neglect of Bharat Maharaj he got over addicted to deer, and Supreme Lord himself wanted to actually rectify his mistake, and that's why for a very short time then he got this punishment as next body he gets as a deer. And we can easily understand how, because the proof is that in the next body, in that body of a deer, he is having complete remembrance of Lord, and then he actually wants, that eagerness is there to practice Krishna consciousness in the body of a deer also. So next we'll come to a personal application. So many times we also see in our life personally we get distracted by many other things. So specifically there are the challenges we may face so we need to avoid this inattention in morning program. So many kind of inattention may come. Sometimes we in course of doing preaching activity, in the name of preaching activities, we might not take proper rest, sleeping late night regularly, or during chanting we actually inattentive chanting is there because of some phone call comes and then we become inattentive. Neglect of morning program, sometimes due to poor rest. We may think that my rounds are pending, so let me just send a few messages first. So we are not very alert about spiritual activities. Sometimes doing it on a mechanical level, a mechanically completion. I have to complete this quota of 16 rounds, so I need to complete it. Or very much restless during spiritual programs. While attending class, we may repeatedly check the time when the class is going to end. Or there is lack of punctuality, enthusiasm. So this as we grow in our spiritual life, many of the times we take the regular duties of spiritual activities very cheaply. We don't take it seriously. Then services, in terms of services and responsibilities also, when we are under engaged, that many times it may happen that we become lazy. We may develop laziness. If we are over busy, then we may neglect spiritual practices altogether, saying that, I was so busy in the service, so that I had no time for sadhana. So both these things have to be balanced very properly, because both these extremes are obstacles. Sometimes we might not take association very seriously. Like when we are in the Bhagavatam classes, we might not hear so attentively, or in association of devotees we might not open our hearts to devotees. So we should open our hearts, seek guidance from proper seniors with whom we have faith, but many of the times our faith sometimes happens to be on some non-devotional sources, so that also we need to take care. Then Then personal application, again, because of oversleeping, a lot of wastage of time happens, and overeating causes sleeping, and ultimately it eventually leads to sense gratification, and many times we get engaged in useless talk, prajalpa, and that pollutes our consciousness. So, and in terms of reading scriptures also, we keep postponing our study repeatedly, or reading only to complete some quota, not a reading for transformation. So like that. And then so one develops attachment even by small gestures also in this world. The nature of world is very dangerous. It can influence our mind. So that's why as brahmacharis also one should be very careful while we deal with women and children. Or dealing with them should be only service dealings. There should be no counseling to Matajis. In preaching we may use many material tools, phones, computers, social media, vehicles. So we should be very careful that they don't overpower us. They are in our control. If we are careless, then we become absorbed in these tools. Instead of using them for Krishna's service, we may use it for just our own service. So that's why ultimately we have to be very cautious of Maya and conscious of Krishna. And then preaching application, one should understand that saving the coat, like this is misplaced compassion many times. So while in our preaching also we may give a wishy-washy thing to our audience. So one should understand that until and unless we don't give them the complete Krishna consciousness, their life will never be changed. That's why nowadays people in the material world, outside world, they will always want some social welfare activities. They're interested in that. So while ISKCON as an organization is involving in that also, but as Radheshyam Prabhu, while he was actually implementing this food for life for every day, I heard that he wanted anybody who comes and takes prasad, he should be given holy names and he should be given that opportunity. That's why I see in the afternoon time they have chanting of holy names. And all these activities need to be actually the distribution of Srila Prabhupada's books, chanting of holy names need to be there along with these activities also. So while we preach, sometimes we may get attracted to some, like this happens to our preaching to youths. Sometimes a youth is very much talented, very skillful, but he's not so interested in his Krishna consciousness. So many of the times a preacher, he may pamper him and let him serve or something like that, but then he's not interested in spiritual life, and from preacher side also he doesn't give him he doesn't make him serious in his spiritual life. So in one sense we should not compromise on the principles of Krishna consciousness in the name of philanthropic activities. And we should train people to be compassionate in the right way, follow spiritual principles ourselves, give Krishna consciousness to others, and use because as brahmacharis many people will be naturally attracted to us. So we should connect them not to us but to Krishna. While we preach, we must focus on awakening spiritual taste in chanting, darshan of deities, shastra, singing Lord's glories, devotee association. So these things should be focused from our side. And we should that's why we should give association to people centered on Krishna, so that students, they develop attachment to the Lord. And mood and mission in the actually 29th and 30th verses of this chapter, Prabhupada mentions very, very profoundly that those who have taken to Krishna consciousness should be very careful that not even single moment is wasted, and that not a single moment is spent without chanting and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his activities. So Prabhupada is mentioning about avyartha kalatvam, that the practitioners of in these organizations, we should be very careful that we don't waste our time in any other activities apart from remembering Krishna. And yet they must take lesson from the life of Bharat Maharaj to be very cautious and to see that not a single moment is, again, actually in that purport, Prabhupada mentions 3 times that not a single moment should be wasted. So he is so much emphatic on it. And then in the next purport, he is telling that association is very meaningful. Therefore, ISKCON tries to perfect one who enters the society. The members of this society should always remember that society is not like a free hotel. All the members should be very careful to execute their spiritual duties, so that whoever comes will automatically become a devotee and will return back home, back to Godhead. And again, he also tells that no one should be captivated by his birthplace and family. We see in the life of Prabhupada also. Prabhupada was never attached to his own birthplace, Calcutta. Actually, he left during his Grihastha life only. He went to Allahabad, and then he went to many different places. So for the purpose was wherever there was opportunity for preaching, he actually wanted to take advantage of it. So one should take shelter of association of devotees and cultivate Krishna consciousness nicely. So thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. It was really so many important points were covered from the purports also, and so many things were there. Very elaborate presentation. Actually, especially when we are in preaching, so somehow or other, like we may do our day-to-day sadhana and activities, but what I have observed is with myself, most important thing that chanting is most neglected. So, and sometimes on the name of, even sometimes when I have to do DT service, even for the sake of DT service, I may not chant my rounds in the morning because I had service, so I will chant in the daytime, but I know it doesn't happen, but somehow or other, whatever I want to do, it just gets neglected, and a lot of too many thoughts, and especially of preaching. So that how to balance that becomes very, very challenging. After hearing japa seminars and so many things, so something more. What else I should do to help myself?
While preparing, actually, I was hearing His Grace Rajeswaram Prabhu, so he was telling that Bhaktivedanta Thakur beautiful writes in an article called as Sadhu Vritti. So there he mentions Satatam Kirtayantuma. So we should be in. Once as I wanted to emphasize that even for chanting or any of the spiritual activities, we need, specifically for chanting, we need to plan one day before, as we know. For some of the devotees I have heard, those who are involved in DT services and all, they get up early in the morning and then complete their rounds, and after that they engage in DT worship. So we need to remain alert, because chanting is such it is a foundational activity in our devotional service, so which should not be neglected. So we have so Bhaktivedanta Thakur tells there that this principle of Satatam Kirtayantumam is broken when we indulge in somewhere unnecessary things. So he gives, so that Rajeswaram Prabhu mentions 4 things, 4 types of activities. So we have to prioritize like that. So one is routine activity which needs to be done, like chanting and all. So we cannot avoid them. So that has to be prioritized. And then devotional activities which are directly connected to Krishna. And then so many of the times, our time goes in some, and there are 4 kinds of activities: routine activities, devotional activities, and then wasteful activities, and then sinful activities or sense gratificatory. So we need to see how our time, we have to analyze, we should analyze that where our time is going, and then accordingly take an action, consulting with our superiors, which will help. So this.
Thank you, Prabhu, for your wonderful session. Actually, in this Bharat Maharaj pastime, we see that Bharat Maharaj actually became distracted because of not having anyone around. So, in our case, we see that we have devotees around, but as we keep on growing and as we keep on rendering different services, we are in our own world. So, we sometimes go to voice, or we may have to go some other places. and that accountability is not so much there, neither to fellow devotees and neither to seniors as such. So it creates a little means not a very congenial situation for a brahmachari. So in such situation, what precautions we should take so that we don't get distracted in as we grow more, because as we grow more, no one will ask us many things. So what we can do as
So Hare Krishna, ultimately, as we know that everybody has to fly their own plane, so it is the responsibility lies on us for our spiritual advancement. And of course, as we grow seniority wise, then many of the times the institution may not ask much, but then on a personal level, on an individual level, we should have such thick friendship with some devotees who will hook us, who will keep guarding us. So that kind of relationship helps us a lot. Such deep friendships we have with devotees. So when in one sense for brahmacharis, actually our fellow devotees are actually eyes. They are the watchful guards for us. As we mentioned, as we see that for grihasthas it is wife, for us devotees are there. So we should actually have such thick friendship with at least some few devotees with whom we do regular reading, hearing, and then whenever we face some problems, they are available for us. So by that one thing can help us as we grow as we grow older in our Krishna consciousness. So that's what I thought is.
Hare Krishna, one question is there. What I thought was, since it is about misplaced compassion, so in preaching, so you may come across some people, some institutions who are doing lot of altruism, so to say, trying to save the dress of a drowning man. So how do we deal with them, because we cannot just boom, boom, boom like this if you do. So what is the right way of dealing with them?
So actually, when while we see the mood and mission of the mood of Srila Prabhupada was that our organization should be very emphatic in presenting ourselves as spiritual organization. While doing that, we don't condemn any other organizations. They might, in fact, some of the nowadays many of the so-called spiritual organizations are there. Their emphasis is not spirituality also, or so-called very outwardly spiritual they call themselves. So once Raisham Prabhu was telling that such organizations are also there, so they are bringing people to at least some level of goodness. Many of them, such organizations, because they will tell the principles of sattva and something like that. So we should see them as, in one sense, they are bringing to some level of they are bringing that audience to some level of platform wherein if they get introduced to Krishna consciousness, then those people also will be benefited. And we need not condemn such kind of organizations because they are not convinced of this. So they are convinced of something else, not actually pure Krishna consciousness. So they are doing that. So from our side, without condemning them, we can have some kind of maybe not exactly collaboration, but appreciating them what they are doing. But we should be ourselves convinced of our own philosophy, and then wherever opportunity is there, we should introduce Krishna consciousness.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, online some devotees are speaking, I think.
I had one question, Praji.
Hari bol.
This, like as a brahmachari or while counseling or mentoring, So how to check whether one's compassion is Krishna-centered or based on some personal affection or preference or some egocentric or something?
As a brahmachari, when we are guarding when we are guiding our devotees under us, so
Basically, I wanted to ask how to check whether my compassion is Krishna-centered or that compassion is based on personal affection.
so personal affection would be actually involved while we guide them in Krishna consciousness. It's not that we don't have personal affection, because without showing affection, like compassion can be expressed by showing affection. But the affection has to be shown in the way that in due course of time, our emphasis should be that they are connected to Krishna, and they are getting they are getting go more closer to Krishna. So because many of the times when we as a person guide some people and they get impressed, or they get, we should understand that that potency of that preaching also in us is also because we are connected to parampara. So whatever good things are there which they are getting impressed with, that is also coming because our faith in Guru Parampara, and because of the mercy of Guru Parampara. So but if we understand that I am just an instrument in the hands of acharyas and Krishna, then will not get swayed away by the kind of reciprocation generally we get sometimes in preaching. So these things need to be taken care from our personal side, and this consciousness is there that I am acting on behalf of Guru and Krishna. Yes.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. So, Radha Path Pankaj, thank you for your very nice presentation. And you coming to some inputs, whatever, both sides. So, very wonderful presentation, skills, space, and time was also almost like exact 12:50. So, you did cover most of it, most of the points, means which are expected. Coming to understanding, yeah, I felt that you gave good justice to that. You elaborated the story, and there also you spoke some personal application during the story also. So it was very nicely taken, different points from Prabhupada purports and etc. The definition of compassion, raising, that's a foundational thing. So it was very nicely done, the understanding part, including even lessons there also, the storyline and everything. And of course began with nice story, real story of a brahmachari who got a deer, but then he had a fort, so fort protected him. So that's good story to begin. And regarding other aspects you are mentioning, like preaching application, that FFL also is done, but holy name, or you distribute something, holy name is given. So it is not just actually I don't know this means it is not just food distribution. It's a prasadam distribution with holy name and all. And how we should not be like that. One example you gave, that we are cultivating someone very skilled, but then we are taking care of him not for the real thing, what he should be doing. So that's what, not giving him guidance, he is not interested, etc. So yeah, that's the problem. We get attracted. So that these things in preaching, and nicely you told that we have to tell the people also what to focus on in our preaching. And mood and mission, you covered many purports where Prabhupada said, no wastage of even 1 second No, multiple things here only in this fifth canto, Bharat Maharaj section only. So yes, and of course Prabhupada's mood and personal application. Certainly you covered so many, 2-3 slides were there, I think. So many points, small point, day-to-day application points. And our dears you mentioned, we also have many dears like mobile, 46 and others. And of course morning program you elaborated. And yes, it was on in Parampara with quotations, etc. You did quote some verses also from Bhagavatam, other places. So overall it was good presentation. So just to give some inputs in terms of what would have been in case something can be added. So there is one letter of Srila Prabhupada which is quoted by, I think Vamshodhan Prabhu often quotes that the spiritual strength of our movement comes from these programs actually. And he is writing to GBCs. So he often quotes this word, if you can put, you will get also. Spiritual strength of, and he is writing to GBCs that is what it is to be seen. And actually for many years I was looking for hierarchy in morning program. Not hierarchy, what you can say. What is more important, what is less important, So Param Pujya Gopal Krishna Maharaj shared that once to, I think, Delhi president. No, who is that?
Mohan Rupa.
No, not other temple. What is that? Punjabi Bagh. Rukmini Krishna Prabhu was sharing in Japa talk. So that was very enlightening. So I think he said that 40%, let me see, 40% chanting, 30% Bhagavatam class, and 20% what is that? Guru Puja, and 10% Mangala. 20% Mangalarti, 10% Guru Puja. So how much it is come to? 40, 30, 20, 10. Right? So chanting 40% maximum, 30% Bhagavatam class, 20% is Mangalarti, timing, 20, and Guru Puja is 10%. Like that, he was quoting his Guru Maharaj, that Maharaj said like that. So these 4 aspects. So everything is important and it has to be taken care. So I was very touched by that. It's very clear that holy name and holy fame is the first priority in association of devotees, which is something very liberty for a brahmachari actually. It's a great thing which should be taken. So you nicely emphasize that in that. Coming to one thing, there is one purport. I felt you will share that purport. There is a purport where Prabhupada says little bit inattention can create havoc. You have read that purport. This is 5th canto only. Of course, it's not Bharat Maharaj section. So this is 5.18.4. So I am just reading out as it is because it's relevant in both topics. This is 5.18.4. So very wonderful verse for all of us. If possible, you can open also. You can open. Vadanti Vishwam Kavayasmanasmaran Pashyanti cha Adhyatma Vido Vipashchitaha Tathapi Muyyanti Tavaja Mayaya Suvismitam Krityam Ajam Natosmitam. O unborn one, 5.18. So this is for preachers only. Preachers, Vadanti means they preach the truth. And Pashyanti means they realize the truth. So, and what they preach, Vishwam is Nashwaram, no, material world is temporary, etc. Translation you can put there. Let's read. So, Adhyatma Vido Vipashchita, and they are all very Vipashchita. But such people also get affected by Tathapi Muyyanti, by your external energy. And there is no bewilderment in that. So, this is the translation I am reading. O unborn one, learned Vedic scholars who are advanced in spiritual knowledge certainly know that this material world is perishable, as do other logicians and philosophers. In trance, they realize the factual position of this world. So, realization also is there. And they preach the truth as well. Yeah. Yet, even they are sometimes bewildered by your illusory energy. This is your wonderful pastime. Therefore, I can understand that your illusory energy is very powerful, and I offer my respectful obeisances. So, this is a very powerful shloka where Prabhupada writes, here very nice thing. A liberated soul, from there I am reading. A liberated soul is a person who has sufficient knowledge of this material world and therefore unattached to the bodily conception of life. But in the association with modes of material nature from very long time, even liberated souls sometimes become captivated by the illusory energy due to inattentiveness in transcendental position. So this is one place. So what is the cause? Inattentiveness, where? In transcendental position, means or identification, especially the morning program actually, and other times it follows. Therefore Lord Krishna says, Mamevaye prapadante, translation, therefore no one should think himself as a liberated person, immune to the influence of Maya. Everyone should very cautiously execute devotional service by rigidly following regulative principles. So one thing is caution, another is regulative principle, rigidly follow. Thus he will remain fixed at the lotus feet of Lord. Otherwise, this is the line, a little inattention will create havoc. We have already seen in case of Bharat Maharaj, like that Prabhupada quotes. So this is one thing which is very costly, and as Prabhu was asking very nice question, that sometimes it happens that we become occupied with responsibilities, and that will happen as one goes ahead. But then we should not become alone, actually. That's what he was saying, like Bharat Maharaj. And you nicely answered that we have to fly our own plane. And another important thing you nicely said was having few friends where you are yourself, You are not the so-called whatever position and all. You are yourself and you can speak to them as you are, who you are. So that's something very important and should be cultivated, as it takes time for all that. So that is very, very good, and this is in that direction only, that Maya will attack more actually afterwards. Because if she kills you, then many others automatically will lose faith. So because one takes responsibility, and one should take more and more, but we have to be becoming more and more careful and being connected with devotees and gurus. So that's something very important as we make progress and as we take more and more responsibilities. And because we will become Maya's target. I think my Guru Maharaj was saying once that as it's like building a building, 100 stories, 108 stories, 108 stories, and then if foundation is missing, if foundation has some problem, then what happens? Building collapses. And what happens? More the bigger building, more people it affects. So that foundation is nothing but this caution with Maya and cautious of Krishna. That's the foundation in our daily practices. So it's very, very important, and doing that with other devotees. So becoming that what you said, and so cultivating thick, as you nicely used word, thick friendships centered around Krishna, where we do both things, as you said, that we study, read, hear together, and we have friendly discussions. Both are important, not just one of them. As yesterday I was saying that hundreds of hours of management meetings will not bring the intimacy. Intimacy will come by only direct Krishna Katha only. And that intimacy means thick friendship. And other question was about prioritizing chanting. Actually, I really offer respects to all the pujaris. It's really great challenge that afterwards chanting alone is a big thing. So I have seen in Ujjain, Param Pujya Bhakti Prem Maharaj personally chants with them. Every day I heard that. The pujaris, because there are 5 altars, so many altars there, right? So many pujaris are involved in cooking. So that is one thing which we can think of, at least, because means if I also am doing someday, rarely, then it becomes very difficult. Other times to chant seriously is not easy. That time there is atmosphere also. everyone is doing that. So one thing is, if we are doing pujari services, so if it's once in a week or twice in a week, it's manageable. That time, as you said, getting up early, we can plan. So that is one thing that can be done. And even if we are doing pujari service, then chanting with some devotees, some pujaris together, that is something can be done. No one to do, because I have not done that, but that is one thing which is done elsewhere, which is because practically all the spiritual master emphasize this. Prabhupada also says here, right? Attentive chanting, and all problems start with inattentive chanting. So it's something very essential, and no one will appreciate if you do nicely, right? Anyone tell you, oh, today, so there is no recognition, appreciation or something like that. It's your own thing. So it's very essential thing to make it as a priority. And coming to that compassion, what Rajat Prabhu asked, so just try to repeat some words of, there is some brahmachari classes given in Nasik by Param Pujya Radhanand Maharaj. So there some similar question was asked, that weak-heartedness with compassion, what is the difference? So this is something very, one is trying to preach in different ways. So how to, so I'm just trying to read as it is, that this discrimination has to be done based on Guru Sadhu Shastra. So compassion is based on truth, to be willing to sacrifice oneself to uplift another, which future also in mind. So that is, so compassion is based on truth. Whereas weak-heartedness or other compassion, that is called as technically weak-heartedness only, because it ends up in that. It's based on misconception. If on the name of compassion we are unable to follow regulative principles, we should able to, so then we have to cut it. We should able to maintain our spiritual strength. We cannot compromise on your spiritual principles and spiritual strength. If that is compromised, because that can be observed by oneself. So we cannot show spiritual compassionate if we compromise on spiritual practices, because from where it comes. So weak-heartedness is based on material sentiment than on shastric conviction. Material sentiment pe hai. If we are too much sentimental about others' emotions, and if we forget spiritual principle for us, then how will uplift them, he is saying. If we understand that principles, what that soul needs and what I need to maintain myself, then we elevate. मतलब उसका भी समझता है, अपना भी समझता है. So then that, because it's a very thin line and many get affected, and I am saying everyone can get affected. So caution is the only line. So we have to draw a line and cut it off. As soon as you see you are compromising your spiritual principle, we should not be sentimental. Cut off, he is saying. Should understand this is not Krishna, this is Maya trying to cheat me on name of compassion. So he was speaking very, if you are helping another is risking your own spiritual principles, then you should understand that you are not helping at all. आप help ही नहीं कर रहे कुछ. Like that, very powerfully he writes. So we should observe whether Maya is cheating us and making us go beyond drawing line. So that is, or out of the boat. And boat is our regulative principles. Like that he elaborately answers. So it's a very essential thing, and we cannot not go out, because that's what is our mission. But we have to be cautious. So I felt that's just a thought of repeating some words of it. And nicely you said about altruistic organizations. So actually nowadays many are coming up, and they are coming to ISKCON and having some expectations also. So surely we can appreciate them, as you said, don't condemn them. However, with caution, we should be careful in collaborating with them. We can use their energy and collaborate, that you give that, we give this, Because there are so many RSS are there and so many others are there. So it's very important than criticizing them, so that we use their energy. For that we need to have some kind of appreciation for them. And they can do a lot actually, which we don't have to do. But that's what it takes time. So actually I saw one good example in I was there with my friend in hospital. That time I saw in Bhaktivedanta hospital, there are every floor there are collaboration with so many other institutions. So they have got money and there is collaboration. So we can collaborate very intelligently that way, because people are coming up with those things. So yes, Prabhu. So Radhapad Pankaj Prabhu, thank you for your presentation. Overall it was good presentation with all the points. Hare Krishna. So now we have last presentation by the head of our BVRV, who is administering every day, is there before time. And everything is running because of that. Haribol.
Can I begin, bro? Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nidinamine Namaste Saraswati Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Pasta Siddhesadarine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So before I begin the topic, I would like to take blessings from all the assembled devotees, especially Samarpan Prabhu and all the other assembled Vaishnavas, so that by your blessings I can speak something in line with Parampara. So I chose the topic, eagerness for renunciation. So in order to advance in bhakti, the renunciation, like detachment from material desire, material things, is very, very important. Because without that, we cannot advance in bhakti. So because that will become a big obstacles for our advancement. So keeping in that mind, I will discuss something, whatever I said. So this pastime comes from Avadut Brahmana, the 24 gurus. He learned from 24 gurus that one of the guru is this hawk. So it comes in 9th chapter, first 2 verse. So there, this Avadut Brahmana, he learned from this hawk is that hawk, there were so many hawks were there. They were very much hungry. They were not getting any prey. So this one hawk got the meat. So the hawks started flying. Then the other hawks were so hungry. They also started fighting and they are trying to capture that meat. But while doing that, they were pecking that hawk also. So the hawk gets so much trouble, and then the hawk unable to fly also. There are so many hawks were there. So then the hawk thought, now if I don't leave the meat, then I will become their prey. So that hawk left the meat. Immediately that all the hawks left that one hawk who was holding that meat, and then they went behind that. But then that hawk felt so much peaceful. So here we can understand that renounced. As soon as he renounced that meat, then that hawk also became very peaceful, and he could be able to fly also. So similarly in our bhakti also, if we don't renounce, then we cannot peacefully, and then we cannot advance also in our bhakti. So we'll see the overview. So I'm going to speak on the topic, what is renunciation, and that 4 types of renunciation, and what to renounce, and some examples from Srimad Bhagavatam, then the applications part. So first we'll see what is renunciation. So to give up something for a higher purpose, renunciation means to give up something for a higher purpose. So if you want to give up lower thing, we need the higher things. Like Bhagavad Gita says, Visayan vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasovarjam rasopyasya param dristva nivartate. The higher taste is required. Without that, we cannot leave the lower taste. So in this material world, we see everything is happening between the sense and the sense object. That interaction. But if we understand, this is a very, very lower things. Even animal gets that. But as we are brahmachari, so we should not be in that level. We should go beyond this sense and sense object. So we can see some stalwarts example who took renunciation for the higher purpose. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who renounced his mother and his wife for the sake of preaching the bhakti cult. And even Shankaracharya also, he gave up his family for the sake of establishing the position of Vedas. And Madhvacharya also gave up the family, sake of for the pleasure of Lord and for establishing the pure devotional service. Even the 6 Goswamis gave up everything, sake of serving Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Sridhar Swami, who gave up the child, his newborn child, and he left, and he renounced, he thought he made the dependence on the Lord, and he renounced, and everything was took care by the Lord. Even Prabhupada also, he renounced, because he renounced and he, for the higher purpose, today we got ISKCON also, where we can also practice bhakti. So something what Prabhupada is telling about renunciation. Real renunciation means to give up the process of sense gratification and apply yourself very seriously in the service of the Lord. In other words, renunciation means not try to give up this world, but to work in this world and give the fruits of our work to the service of Krishna. Renounce the sense gratification itself is not sufficient. One should renounce the desire for the sense gratification. That is very important. And here's one more slide. Tirukram Swami. Sometimes in 1969 I asked Srila Prabhupada whether he thought I should remain a brahmachari or get married. Prabhupada said, it doesn't matter, you can be Krishna conscious in any ashram. The main thing is to be Krishna conscious. So Prabhupada said one should be Krishna conscious and he can serve anywhere. Because this renunciation is because this bhakti has 2 children, Vasudeva Bhagavati, Bhakti Yoga Prayojita, Janayati Asu Vairagyam, Jnanam Chayat Ahaitukam. These 2 children is this Jnana and Vairagya it comes automatically by performing the pure devotional service. So that's why one must do Krishna conscious, that is very important things. So real renunciation, whether one is a sannyasi, vanaprastha, grahastha or brahmachari, is to use the body, mind, word and life in the service of Krishna, Vaishnavas and other living beings. That is very important. So we will see now the types of renunciation. There are 4 types of renunciation are there. So Phalga Vairagya, Markata Vairagya and Smasan Vairagya and Yukta Vairagya. So Phalga Vairagya means the false, immature renunciation or incomplete renunciation we can say. Like there is one river in Gaya, it's Phalgu river. If you see from the top side you will not find any water. It is very dry, but inside the water is flowing. So the example is given for this 5 Phalgu Vairagis. Internally they had the desire, but externally they show off. that I am renounced everything. And they saw that some says that I don't have any desire, means I should come out from all the desire. Means my only desire is I should not have any desire. So which is not possible. So then it is there is Markata Vairagya, this is monkey renunciation, that they will show, like monkey also, in forest we can see, that monkey shows that I also renounced everything, and then he doesn't wear clothes, eats very simple foods. But inside he has that enjoyment mentality, so he keeps dozen girlfriends. Prabhupada says that. So they show this Vairagya, but they do all these other nonsense activities also. This is also not right renunciation. Then this Masan Vairagya. It's a time being people become renounced. That's why in our culture it is there. In Hinduism, if you see a person dies, they will take him to the crematorium and they burn the body. So everyone in front of everyone eyes. So by seeing, they will get that little renunciation. We are doing so much and everything for the body. I told the sense and sense object, everything. Everything is doing for the body, but at the time of death, the body is less burnt and made into ashes. So they get that little renunciation, but as soon as they come out, again the Maya will attack them, and then that renunciation. But our real renunciation means Yukta Vairagya. This is complete renunciation. Rupa Goswami says that Anasaktasya Vishayan Yukta Haram Upayunjata Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha Yukta Vairagya Uchate. So Rupa Goswami said that all these material objects should be renounced, and the proper thing is it should be used in the service of Krishna. That is the proper renunciation. So what to renounce? There are different types of people. They are renouncing different things. For example, few people, they renounce the fruits but not work. Niskama karmi. And Niskama karmi means he offers the fruits to Lord. But some are there, they renounce work and then they renounce the fruits also. It's for the jnanis. That is also not proper renunciation. But devotees, they don't renounce anything. They actually utilize the body, mind and soul for the pleasure of Lord. And the fruits, whatever they get also, they also engage in the pleasure of the Lord. Means one thing we have to renounce is the enjoyment mentality. So we'll see some examples from Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the Priyavrat section. Renunciation interrupted by divine duty. So Priyavrat was the first son of Swayambhu Manu, and the Parikshit Maharaj asked this two questions the beginning of this chapter, that how it is possible this Priyavrat is pure devotee and he was fully engaged in the service of the Lord and satisfaction of the Lord, and he is free from akama, he is free from the desire. Then how it is possible he engaged in this household life? That one question he asked. And then next question he asked, okay, he engaged in this household life, but how it is possible? Again he renounced. Because if someone, Prabhupada writes there, that household, it is very difficult for them to come out from this attachment. Because if somebody is directed by sense gratification, and that facility is there more in this household life, it is very difficult to come out. So how it is possible then? What happened to Priyavrat? That's why the question of Parikshit Maharaj. Then Sukadev Goswami accepted, yes, what you said is right, that once somebody is absorbed in this household life, it is very difficult to come out. But Priyavrat is not an ordinary devotee. So he said that obstacles cannot obstruct the absorption of the bhakti. So sometimes the devotee face impediments in the bhakti, but they don't lose the positions what they achieved already. We can see another next example also that. So, but there are some obstacles. There will be two impediments will be there for while we practicing bhakti. The one impediment is Vaishnava aparadha. So the Vaishnava aparadha, what happens here? The advancement will be checked for the time being, but that bhakti is not destroyed still. That is one impediment. And the other impediment is desire of devotees or Lord. So that's that example comes Jay and Vijay. Lord wants some very rest. So that's why Lord, they became the enemies for the 3 lifetime. And after that, they came back to their original position. So this is the two impediments comes in bhakti, and this is how Priyavrata also got one of the impediments. So what happened in that case? Swayambhu Muni had two sons, Uttanapat, first son. Sorry, Priyavrata first son, Uttanapat second son. After Uttanapat, Dhruva Maharaj ruled, then Anga Maharaj, Vena Maharaj, Vena, Prithu, and then Prachetas. Then comes Daksha. Actually, Daksha Prajapati went for austerity, to perform austerity. Then no one was there. So then Swayambhu Muni thought, we will ask Priyavrata. That's why he came to that place, Gandhamadana hill. And Priyavrata knows this, Swayambhu Muni knows this Priyavrata is disciple of Narada Muni. So it is very difficult to make him accept. Even Grahastha also, they will be very powerful. Like Prahlad Maharaj, how powerful devotee. If somebody is preached by Narada Muni, it is very difficult for them to make accept that household life. Because already Narada Muni taught the value of spiritual life, knowledge, renunciation, and bhakti. Everything is already taught to Priyavrata. So Swayambhu Muni came and he requested Priyavrata to accept the responsibility of ruling the kingdom. Then he was not ready to accept. Then Brahma appeared, because Brahma also knows that it is very difficult to make him accept. So when Brahmaji appeared, everyone understood the seriousness. If some senior devotee is coming and they only coming and presenting means, then it is something really very serious subject matter. So Brahmaji appeared, so they understood the seriousness. So when Brahmaji while coming, he smiled at Priyavrata also. Because Priyavrata is so strong in his determination. So Brahmaji came to break his determination. Srila Prabhupada writes that. He is so determined, but I came to break your determination. So Brahmaji told this two sloka comes that one can attain this liberation or perfection only by these two ways. One is by the blessing of the Vaishnavas, another one is following these regulations. So Brahmaji is telling you, please accept. Already you pleased the Narada Muni so much. And then by doing this, accepting this responsibility also, we are going to be pleased. So you will not be. The only problem Priyavrata had, I will be entangled. I don't want. On top of it, he is a brahmacharya. Brahmacharya should not manage. But that's why you accept the household life and then take the kingdom also. This is called the Kripa Siddhi. So this sloka comes, Sri Bhagavan Vacha Nirbodhatatidam Ritan Bhavimi Masuyitam Devam Arhasi Aprameyam Vayam Bhavaste Tatas E Samaharisis Vaham Sarve Vivasa Yasyadhistam. So he says that no, everyone must accept the order of the spiritual Lord, Supreme Lord. So he gave the example of myself, Mr. Brahmaji, and then Lord Shiva, and then even Narada Muni, everyone must accept. If they are, because no one is exempt from that. And then he gave another verse also, that not only devotees must accept, even others also, they also must accept, they also must follow the order of the Supreme Lord. This comes, Natasya Kaschit Vipasa Viryava Na Yoga Virena Manishyava Fir Naivartartam Dharmai Prato Svatova Kritam Vihantum Tanu Bhrit Vibudhayat. So here it comes. One who performs, means no one can avoid. For all day, one who performs severe austerity, one who is educated, one who has so much strength, and one who has intelligent, and one who has opulence, one who is religion, means very powerfully practicing the religion, and one who has this external energy, and then Svatova. Svatova means one by his own endeavor, one cannot avoid. Everyone, Kritam Vihantum. Kritam means order, Vihantum means cannot avoid. Everyone must accept. So when he presented that top personality, like Supreme Lord himself wants this, then, and he guaranteed that you will not fall down because you are already pleased. So you will be come out when the time comes very easily. So he accepted. Then Swayambhu Muni became very happy. He told also, persons whose senses are not controlled, they will be caught. Means they will become attached and they cannot come out from the household life. But you are already sense controlled. You can very easily come out. And household life can't harm you. Then Swayambhavu became very happy because Priyavrata accepted. Actually, Swayambhavu wants to take renunciation. And he is telling you, come out from renunciation, I will take renunciation. You take care of this household duty. So then he came and then he married and then he got 10 sons from first wife Bharismati. And then 3 sons became celibates and the other 7 sons, they took care of this Bhumandal, the 7 Bhumandal. And then from second wife he got 3 more sons. And then the 3 became that next Manus. So his duty is over now. And then after his duty, this is over, then he thought that I went so deeper into this household life. Then yesterday actually, Subal Priya Prabhu was telling nicely. He was thinking that I became monkey. I became like monkey, dancing monkey. So he was condemning himself. Then he thought, now I will renounce everything. And then he renounced. Because he followed the order, he did not find any difficulty. So he very easily renounced. So there Prabhupada mentions, without serving spiritual master or pure devotee, one cannot become free from material attachment. So, and then we can see Priyavrata, he made this 7 layer also with this wheel, and he was not happy with that. Night time the sunlight is not there, so he with his own chariot he went behind this sun and he brought the light. So it means Prabhupada is mentioning he is not ordinary person. This all only Supreme Lord can do this. So in this sloka also we saw that Sri Bhagavan Vacha, actually Brahma was telling. So that highest, that esteemed category, that thing is given to Brahma also. Like this Priyavrata also should be given. Because that in one purport Prabhupada mentions that Priyavrata also should be given because he is not ordinary person. So because of that he could able to easily come out. We can learn that Priyavrata, we should, whichever ashram one may be, but one should serve Lord. One should practice bhakti. That is very important. And one should accept the order of the superior. One should not, the renunciation is not escape from responsibility. One should accept the responsibility and one should be obedient to the higher authorities also. And then in that way if someone does, he can rule and he can remain detached also. So hence renunciation is internal. Renunciation means not running from the world but running from selfish desire. So one more example already Prabhu explained. I will just try to explain few things which was not covered. So of course Bharat Maharaj section. So in Bharat Maharaj section we can see before this Varsha was called Ajnaba Varsha. But after Bharat Maharaj, so it became Bharata Varsha. So he was so affectionate to the citizens. He was caring the citizen like his own sons. And so in this very young age he left the kingdom and he went to Pulaka Ashram where the Gandaki river. And we can see one remarkable thing, without association he attained Bhava stage. But without association, when whatever state one may be, but we cannot sustain. In order to sustain, we need association. That's why without association, no protection is there. And then he became, of course, he went to take bath, then he became attached to the deer. And then he brought the deer and then he slowly, gradually leaving everything, chanting, and then he started feeding the deer, fondling the deer. And then so much attachment to the deer, and then his bhakti only he forgot. The purpose is not achieved. But if there is attachment, for example, you see some brahmachari, he brings one deer, and then he is trying to always fondling and doing, then what happens? Immediately male goes. So that's why the association is very important always. He will be very easily protected. And one more thing, he was, I heard from Kanai Krishna Prabhu's lecture, he felt that I have to give shelter to the deer. Because he was the king has to give shelter to everyone who comes to him. So that's why even we know this. Kali also took the shelter of Parikshit Maharaj, then he did not kill. He gave the shelter to Parikshit, that Kali also. So similarly he thought, actually one should think oneself as servant. But he said that I am protecting. So that mentality should not come. And if there is no attachment, we become very easily to the petty things also. This deer is not something very difficult to become detached, but because of the association is not there, he became attached to these very petty things. And he should have understood that. He brought, and then he cannot give bhakti to the deer, so he shouldn't have much involved in that caring. He thought he's my own son. So then the deer left Bharat Maharaj. So one more thing we have to learn is, in this material world we become attached to something, but that object will not become attached to us. Like same case we can see Pururava and Urvasi. So Urvasi came, the curse was there, but once that time is over, she left. But Pururava became mad and he did yajna, and then Lord Vishnu appeared. But from Vishnu also what he has? Even self-gratification thing only. So we can see that attachment he had, but Urvasi, again she tells about the nature of woman all. Then at the time of that, he thought of the deer and then died. Like Puranjan thought that he became woman. Yeah, he thought, and then, so what he was thinking, that they will become at the time of that yam vapismaran bhavam tejanti kalevaram. But after he became deer, even in the deer body also he has to renounce. So because we can see that the small mistake he did, he left that human body and then he got now deer body, again he renounced. Although it is very degradation from emperor to animal. He was the king and the animal. But Lord is so merciful, already I told the bhakti cannot be destroyed. Although he got animal body, but he did not get animal consciousness. He remembered what mistake he did, then immediately he left this deer family and then he went near where these devotee sages are there, and he was doing tapasya also, eating dry grasses and staying near the sages, taking the association of sages. Now we understood that association is very important. Then after that he died, and then again he became Jadabharat also. Then again also he has to renounce. See, one time he renounced in the first time as a King Bharat, then there was some, due to that carelessness, he fell down. Again then deer body also he renounced. Again he became Jadabharat, again he renounced also. Then he renounced that other things will come. So what we can learn from Bharat Maharaj section, external renunciation is not enough. He left everything, but he did not renounce that shelter-giving tendency. So as soon as the deer came, he thought, I have to give shelter. And then one should be very careful in dealing with material object. So here the guidance is required. If something we are dealing with some material things, means without guidance one should not deal with it. Compassion without discrimination binds one. So he should not become compassionate, misplaced compassion. Like Saubhari Muni also became compassionate towards the fishes. Because of that, he offended Garudji. So one should know that how much to give association from material people, and we should not take association. We should give association only. So the association is, that's why very important. Then Ajamila section. So I will quickly cover this. Ajamila was a Brahmana. Due to bad association, he lost all the bad qualities. Especially the prostitute he brought, and then he lost all the Brahminical qualities. And at the age of 88, he had 10 sons, and a 3-year-old son was there. And he became so much attached to this 3-year-old son. And he gave, one good thing he did is he gave the name Narayana. So always he was calling, Narayana, come with me, come and sit with me, play with me, sleep with me, eat with me. Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. He was always calling the name Narayana. But similarly at the time of death, he also called that Narayana. But he was attached to the Narayana, the child, but the child was not attached to him. The child doesn't know that my father is going to die. That's why he is calling me. But the child was casually thinking. But that's why we should be very careful. If you become attached to material things or material object, that's same attachment we are not going to get. I think Prabhupada was telling that story in the beginning. He was attached to that woman, but that girl was not attached to him. He was going to commit suicide. So a nice sloka comes. At the time of that, then he remembered Lord Narayana, he chanted the name. So Sakrinmana Krishna Padaravindayo Nivesitam Tad Gunaragiyariha Nate Yamam Pasha Bhratas Chatat Bhathan Swapnepi Pasyanti Hi Shirna Niskritaha. Although not having fully realized Krishna, person who have even once surrendered completely unto his lotus feet and who have become attracted to his name, form, qualities and pastime are completely freed of all sinful reactions, for they have thus accepted the true method of atonement. Even in dreams, such surrendered souls do not see Yamaraj or his order carriers, who are equipped with ropes to blind the sinful. And one more sloka comes, which glorifies the holy name. Sanketyam parihasyam sa stobam helanam yevava vaikuntanama grihanam asesagam haram vidu. Even if someone chants neglectfully, jokingly, also that is going to be helpful to them. So that's why Ajamila, he was liberated by chanting the holy name. So we should not wait like Ajamila. Something happens in my life, then only I will take serious. We should take serious now, immediately. Means we should not wait. Because if someone is carried away by that incident, then it is very difficult. Because attachment, gradually it develops. The problem with attachment is like dhyayato vishayan pumsa sankati. So that time only we should cut it. Whenever some mind is lingering here and there, some wrong thing, immediately we have to cut that. So some says that Ajamila, like Gauranga Prabhu was telling, Ajamila enjoyed materially also and he went back to Godhead. But it did not happen. When he saw that two Vishnudutas and Yamadutas conversation, then he realized his mistake. After that, at the end, he wants to talk to Vishnudutas, but Vishnudutas vanished. Then he immediately thought and he left everything. And he left everything and he went to Haridwar, and there he performed very severe austerity. Then he saw that same personalities, Vishnudutas came, and then he went back to Godhead. So Prabhupada mentions that Krishna consciousness and sense gratification goes ill together. So one cannot travel in the boat. One should please Lord in all the... so the main thing we can learn is be in association and take guidance. We should also find out what is our deer. Like Bharat Maharaj has the 4 deer. So he was somehow, not much issue was there. If somebody becomes 2-legged deer, then it is really very, very, very dangerous. So the contemplation we should divert it to Lord, Guru, Vani, and contemplate on slokas. Like this we should change. Okay. So mood and mission. So I will quickly read. Renunciation must be in consciousness. So Prabhupada wrote letter to Hamsaduta and Himavati Mataji. I am very glad to note when you write to say that both you and Himavati miss your sleep and go to bed late. By Krishna's grace, Himavati is not only beautiful externally, but she is beautiful within also. Otherwise, how she can say that you may have the license for sense gratification, but what will you do with this license? A brahmachari is good for living a life of celibacy, but a person who can live a life of celibacy in the presence of beautiful and obliging wife is more than a brahmachari. Of course, anyone who is stuck up with only one wife is also called brahmachari. You will set a very good example if both of you agree not to have sense gratification anymore and still you remain as husband and wife together. This is possible, however, only if both of you are fixed up in Krishna consciousness activities. I thank you very much for your sincere endeavor and to do this activity. So here we can see, although they are grahasthas and then they are not having any sexual activity, so Prabhupada appreciated it. We can see Sankarshan Das Adhikari Prabhu also. So Prabhupada, whoever wants to renounce, he always appreciates them. And if somebody is grahasthas, then for them also he tries to, means they should be detached from this enjoyment mentality. This one more example is, there is a very wonderful example. Everyone with the material body thinks of sex life. So it's past time happened with Kulasekar Prabhu. He was Kulasekar Swami. Then he changed. So he remembered one Srila Prabhupada past time. So what happened is background. Kulasekar Prabhu, he was a brahmachari. He wants to become sannyas. Once he saw Prabhupada in morning walk, he saw Prabhupada was that skin, everything is turning into gold, and he was effulgent. And as soon as he saw, he felt is renounced person and then he is not an ordinary person. I also should become renounced and I want to serve Prabhupada. So in that, he went to Shyam Sundar Prabhu and he asked Shyam Sundar Prabhu, it's written here. So Shyam Sundar Prabhu asked him, I want to meet Prabhupada, he told. Why you want to meet? He said, now I think I am ready for sannyas. Then Shyam Sundar Prabhu asked him, don't you think of sex life? I will read this. I said, Srila Prabhupada, I would like to... Okay, this comes a little later. He said, yes, sometimes I think of sex life. So he said, so better than you get married, Shyam Sundar Prabhu told him. You go and think about it. So in whole night he thought about it. And then next day morning, means he couldn't sleep also properly. He thought it is better, I should be genuine. So better I will get married because I get this desire. So I will get married, and he was thinking whom to marry also. He decided with some brahmacharini. So decided, and then next day he went and he told Shyam Sundar Prabhu, yes, what you said is right, I will get married. So then he said, yes, now you go and meet Srila Prabhupada. So he went and saw, this is that written here. I said, Srila Prabhupada, I like to get married. He said, what? What? Who has done this to you? I was devastated. Prabhupada is so angry. I said, Prabhupada, I went to see Shyam Sundar. And he said, Shyam Sundar, he said, actually who said this? Shyam Sundar said. So he said, called Pradyumna, bring Shyam Sundar here immediately. Prabhupada was furious. I sat there looking at the floor and feeling like a dog. Shyam Sundar came in and Prabhupada said, who are you to tell my brahmachari to get married? So Prabhupada was so angry and he said, Shyam Sundar said, Prabhupada, he said he wanted to take sannyas and I told him if he ever thinks of sex life. Prabhupada said, everyone with a material body thinks of sex life. Prabhupada looked at me with compassion and said, look at him, he is finished. Then he said, you have no rights to tell my brahmacharis to get married ever. So very powerful statement. So if little bit somebody had desire also, Prabhupada encouraged them. So Srila Prabhupada introduced this brahmacharini ashram and Sudama Maharaj pastime, you know, this Japan preaching. So Prabhupada protected him at the end. It was said by Omkari Devi Dasi. Then Tamal Krishna Maharaj was also wants to marry Prabhupada. Agreed, then immediately he told he doesn't want. So Prabhupada agreed that also. And Prabhupada always encourage, at least give a try. This Upendra Prabhu wrote a letter. I always recommend that in the letter Prabhupada mentioned that one should try to remain brahmachari if possible. And if you think that this will be possible for you, you should try for it. Prabhupada said women should marry and men become brahmachari. Preaching application. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also took sannyas for preaching. And then people will respect, at least they will not offend Chaitanya. And Srila Prabhupada also preached very boldly about renunciation. Even we can see in Srimad Bhagavatam also, this forest of enjoyment and many other chapters, is very boldly it is given. Once Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj was giving lecture. So that time Maharaj in Chennai it was there. So all this normal lecture, not brahmachari lecture. So Prabhupada said, what is sex life? He just rubbed these two skin. This is sex life. So one should not think that we should not speak or it should be spoken boldly. We should just convey what scripture says. We should not feel that it will not be helpful. But actually it is required for advancement in bhakti. One should speak these things. And now devotees are bringing community project also, farm project, where grahasthas, like I saw in Salem temple also, this farm project is coming. Many grahasthas are involved. The farm community will take care of them, and then they get up early morning and attend morning program. Mataji has separate service, and then Prabhuji goes to this field work. So he will take care of that, milking cows, all those things. So both are very happily serving. So this is also, this preaching up means is required in preaching. Because for them also that detachment, how they should detach, that facility also made. So everyone should get this renunciation training. Like we have Vanaprastha classes also now. There are two types of Vanaprastha classes happening. One for elderly, already who is in that level. Another one is for who is going to become Vanaprastha for them also. So everybody is getting now, like children, Gurukul is there. For Brahmachari we have, before Brahmachari PDC training is there. And then everyone must get this renunciation training. And without detachment, one cannot advancement in bhakti. personal application. So we should not become attached in renounced life. We have taken renounced order of life and we are practicing. One may become attached to anything. One may become attached to service. So I will take the service, I will not leave the service. And I don't improve the service also. So that should not be there. If I am not capable, we should give to others. So like we can see, many one should not become attached to post, position, because we have renounced now everything. Renunciation means, brahmachari means he should always contemplate on Brahman. So not, but after renouncing, if we are coming and then doing the same, we are attached to some things that is not good. This is a big impediment for brahmachari. So one should not become attached to, even in spiritual, even in bhakti. So devotees also get crisis. Even after joining few devotees, I know that they got some problem in their family life. And then when they discussed with their seniors, they gave suggestion, you have to go and help. So they went and they helped. Because they accepted the order of the superior, they came back also. And again they joined also. Like Priyavrat case we can see. He accepted the order of the superior. That's why he can able to easily come and again he perform the bhakti. And then Brahmacharya ashram gives freedom for one's advancement. That we have that full freedom. If you want to get up early morning, nobody is going to trouble you. But we should not become lazy in this brahmachari life. We should try our full best to do our sadhana. And then I found that early morning getting up doing sadhana is really amazing. Like we had in our PDC time. That reading which I like very much. And then getting up early morning, sitting everyone, of course that may be quite difficult now. But at least reading early morning is very wonderful. That's all helps so much to become detached from these material things. And the 5 S's is very important. Sangha, sadhana, sadachar, swadhyaya, and sadhana, seva. These 5 S's, this will be very important. And we should do all these things. Not only attached to only one thing. Everything should be there. So even in preaching also, we should first elevate ourselves. Then we can elevate others. Krishnanand Prabhu gave recently one nice example. Like if you have power bank, first you have to charge the power bank. Then only the power bank can charge other devices. But if the power bank doesn't have charge, what it can do? Similarly, we should be, that's why, become strong in our bhakti, then we can elevate others. That's why one may fall at any stage of bhakti, like Bharat Maharaj example is there. That's why we should be always in the association of devotees and we should not become careless. So I'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki Hare Krishna. If you have any questions, please ask.
Hare Krishna. Madhacharya Prabhu, it was very wonderful. And sure enough, we understand the importance of renunciation in our life, brahmachari's life. It is very much required. Sometimes we hear that by renunciation, one also, there is a tendency that somebody may develop pride. And also by renunciation, sometimes one can become hard-hearted, right? Or maybe one may have dryness also. So how does this happen, or what is the right spirit of renunciation so that we don't succumb to these tendencies? We don't succumb to pride, or we condemn other ashramas or something like that. So how to have right spirit of renunciation?
Your question is for related to other ashram
No,
or oneself?
Ourselves.
Yeah. So this pride, these anarthas are there. This comes, it's a material things. So if we are not strongly practicing bhakti, all these things will be carry away us. We should not become attached to anything. We should become attached to bhakti and seva and then our sadhana. These two we should become attached. So the pride comes. One thinks I am great. I can only do best. Like some example, if I am cooking, if I cook, it will be very wonderful. I'm giving my own example. So if that in that way I think, then that will become material. So that is not spiritual consciousness. Spiritual consciousness, even though what Krishna likes, that they will put them in front. One example I want to say, but that in personal application. So I want to do one service, but I did not get that service. So I don't want to tell fully. So, but I was trying to do that. I want to do that service really, but I was not getting. Then I became so much disturbed because of that. Even it is affecting my morning program also. Even in chanting also, these things goes in. And then gradually it was helping me to come out from this problem. Uh, then what happened? My bhakti became good. Now that what I need, I am getting that also. So one should focus on bhakti. One no need to focus on these material things. It's clear? Means.
We come from material background and then we come to spiritual life, so we have a tendency to see externals even in spiritual life, even in ashram life also. So we tend to see the externals of people, what kind of service one is doing, what kind of popularity one is gaining. So in ashram life, how to live so that our attention is not taken from the essential thing, that is for which we have come. Our attention should not get diverted to these things, because these things will come in institution. These things will be there.
Yeah. So Prabhupada also mentioned that whoever has material body, the sex desire will be there. So similarly, some desires will be there within us, but gradually, by practicing bhakti, it will goes off. Maybe in the beginning days, we don't have any desire, but gradually what happens, everyone is becoming popular, but I am not getting popular. So recently I was also thinking on this. So those devotees who is not so popular, and then there's some kind of very wonderful devotees, they won't come in front only. They are in background only. They are not popular only. But popularity, what it will do? Popularity is not going to help us to go back to Godhead. Means what way I am thinking. So one such brahmachari I served in Hyderabad temple. Prabhu is no more there. He is disciple of Satswarup. Who is that Prabhu? A PhD he did from Manipur. Swarup Damodar Maharaj. So disciple of Swarup Damodar Maharaj is Vijay Prabhu. So such a wonderful brahmachari. I got so much inspiration. The brahmachari, he was bitten by monkey. So his leg, I don't know how many of you know, he's a brahmachari in Hyderabad temple. His leg became very swollen. So very difficult. After that monkey bite, Prabhu did not care so much. So much side effect came in his body. And then actually that Prabhu's glories you see, he was the only devotee taking care of that all the deities. Jagannath, Gaur Nitai, Radha Madan Mohan. One person does worship, and then cooking also he has to do. As a single person alone he was doing. And then worshipping, everything. So, but after he became deceased, that time also he was not simply sitting. So he unable to see also properly. He has to see very, like reading means he has to keeps here, literally. And although that speck size also very big, so he keeps here and he reads. And in that condition he was translating Krishna book. There were 2 Krishna book was there in Telugu. One is by Anandmay Prabhu. So that translation was done by Prabhu. And then every day he gives Bhagavad Gita class evening in the temple. So for him it is walking is very difficult. To come down from the steps takes 2 to 3 minutes. One step. He is very slowly he comes. And then he cannot wash cloth also. He sees so much times he blinks and then slowly he washes. So then we and Srinivas Prasad Prabhu, we went and asked Prabhuji, we will do the service, washing the clothes. He was telling, no. Then we forced and we took the service. We were serving then the Prabhuji. Then we told Prabhuji also, we will bring prasadam for you also. You don't need to come. So that service also we took. So what happened? Prabhuji's kidney was getting, means failure. Gradually it is getting failure. So Prabhu was once admitted in hospital. So they admitted in some general government hospital. And then myself and Rajeshwar Madhav Prabhu was sent to serve Prabhuji. That whole night we should be there. So it's a government hospital, not much facility was there, and Prabhu cannot eat normal things. While going, they told me to take prasadam from temple. So Prabhu did not eat from almost some 12 o'clock something. Prabhu was admitted. We went evening 6, 7 o'clock. After office we came, immediately we went. So then he did not eat anything. He was simply lying and no one was there around. And when we went and then we asked Prabhuji, what do you want? Shall we give some water? Then Prabhu drank little water. And then we told him that prasadam is there. He asked me, then he said, rice, I don't want, Prabhu said. Then I thought, can I get some juice, Prabhu, for you? He said, okay, bring little bit. Then I brought 2 juices, 2 packet I brought. So he drank everything and then he was, after that also so hungry. And I felt very bad. So in this condition, nobody is there to care. I called one senior devotee there and I informed him. He called another devotee. Then the Prabhu was shifted to that proper hospital. So that condition. So he was very wonderfully serving and then very amazing Vaishnava. So even he gets sometimes prasadam from outside, means from some grahastha. One auto driver was there, he used to bring and he serves Prabhuji. So when I saw such a brahmacharis, so such a exalted devotees, I also got brahmachari means should be like this. Is there proper renounced person? Why we should go behind all these things? Because Krishna was so much happy with this. So whenever we think this, if I attach to this and if I hanker for this, it really helps Guru and Krishna. If we think, then I think we can easily come out from this. Our only thing, the purpose we came, we renounced everything and came. And after coming also, why we should accept all these things? Why should go behind all these things? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Madhav Charan Prabhu, thank you very much for your very wonderful presentation. Elaborate presentation about each aspects. Eagerness for renunciation. So going in the sequence. Very nice presentation skills, space, eye contact, everything wonderful. I forgot to mention or see about the time, so I don't know how about. I felt extra. It went over. No? Only 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay, I also felt like that. So just that you can think about that. And understanding you cover elaborately that 11th canto story of Hawk, which is very relevant to your topic. And summary, what to renounce, how to renounce, type of renunciation. So that was appropriate. And and of course you explained all the applications. Maybe because you saw the time is going, so last part little bit you have to go through quickly. That is natural. I was intending that you would have added in personal application for specific more about brahmacharya, as he asked the question about hard-heartedness and getting disrespectful to the woman or other ashram, like that Prabhu was asking. So that I felt it can be added in for specific for brahmacharis. And where the question comes, Prabhupada was told one passionately sincere devotee came to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, I want to renounce everything. So Prabhupada could understand that, but what Prabhupada replied, anyone remembers that? What Prabhupada said to? He was sincere, but he was little passionate, openly saying, I want to renounce everything, Prabhupada. So Prabhupada saw that and said, what do you have to renounce? Everything belongs to Krishna. So everything we use in service of Krishna. So what we have to renounce is the feeling that we have something to renounce.
Mentality.
So like that Prabhupada told him. So I was feeling that the core of renunciation is nothing is mine. As you said that why we have come here. And so false ego. That's what we have to renounce. Because pride and all are children of that only. disrespecting other ashram, disrespecting woman. So I felt that part can be there. Like these renunciation are there. One is dry. I think Rupa Goswami says that. So the problem is with that is like in brahmacharya life, this can happen. That very severe austerities someone is doing about eating or about sleeping very less, but the dealings are not sweet. So it is not necessarily appropriate renunciation, right? So that thing is very important. That dry renunciation, it should not be dry. Dry means without any connection to pleasure of Krishna and devotees. It is more in connection with giving up things of this world, which Prabhupada didn't emphasize much, especially in terms of things. Rather, he said use in service of Krishna, right? So I felt that can be added, like someone is doing lot of nirjal and emphasizing that, and that is nice, but then it has to be softening the heart, then the hardening the heart. So I think Rupa Goswami says that chitta kaఠిన్య happens by dry renunciation. Falgu renunciation means hardness, and hardness means inappropriate dealings, disrespectful, etc. So that is something which is practical, and then the solution for that also. That better, like personally I can give example that once our Prabhu came, Vishwarup Prabhu came in Kunja Bihari, I think 7 hours he spoke on Nirjal Ekadashi, and then he told 3 standards of Ekadashi: Nirjal, Sajal and Safal, that's it. He said there is no 4th option of Sa Khichdi and all that. Sa Sabudana, Dosha, now Sa Dosha, everything. So I was just joined after 1 year. I thought, okay, I will follow lowermost. These 2 are very high for me. But very difficult. I am eating fruits and thinking all about halwa is going on, so many things. So 1 month I did, and then I asked. Then my guide told, better you take prasad. So if our ego is, where is our mind? That's the point. And so that is another thing, that if our ego is getting increased, that all others are sense gratifiers, they are eating all and I am doing nirjal. So my Guru Maharaj says, better you are feasting on false ego and fasting from the grains. So better you go and sit. And
I said also that you should think you are not qualified, that's why you are doing fasting. They are qualified, they can eat also, like that one lecture.
Exactly. That's the positive way of looking at it. So that's why it's quite internal actually. So otherwise it becomes dry. So that I was feeling that kind of thing is added, because it happens in brahmacharya. Different waves keep on coming as you spend more time, some austerities. And it's good to do it, but we have to see the purpose is being solved or not. Are we becoming Krishna conscious more? So that is one thing I felt. And Prabhupada pastime, those 2 pastimes were very good. Who is that other devotee's name? I forgot.
Kulashekar Prabhu.
Kulashekar Prabhu. So later on he continued. Amazing. But Prabhupada is telling very clearly. Yes, and that nice incidences you told about services. How to get not diverted to external achievements. I think that's what Prabhu was asking, and then you answered that purpose has to be remembered, why we came. If we have left that, then why we came. So that's very appropriate. I was thinking that there can be added in that is that actually these all things give inspiration, because we think that there is something in that, as you correctly said, that what is this? Bhakti, close. So that's how our taste, our juice, our interest has to be in the core things, than all these F's, fame, followers, fruits, favors, and so many other facilities. All these things, fame. So actually they are very attractive and very difficult to give up, surely, but we have to be cautious by looking within. So today only I was hearing lecture of my Guru Maharaj. There he was telling same thing about false ego. So he said that nothing is mine is the real renunciation. Nothing is mine, including my abilities, my talent or my skills. Then everything else is gone only. Right? So that is, he was quoting Kunti Maharani's prayers. So I was feeling that those things can be added from the core of renunciation. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers are both types. There are not just one type, right? There are grihasthas who are renounced. There are renunciates also. So those things, otherwise all other things you took care. Thank you very much for everything, and you are there all throughout with all the facilities, and so thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Thank you. We finish this one presentation. Now only one thing is remaining for all of you, na? In your more or major evaluation is Bhagavatam class, right? Shloka presentation, that is more or less individual only. Previous presentation, so that we'll do later. Earlier, what you can say, that can be planned later. First, common things will complete, then the pending things after. Next month, I think we can have Bhagavatam classes remaining, na? For 4 to 6. So 4 presentations, so 3 happened. So 4th one can be planned next month, I think. So we'll finalize the date. Pending devotees. So I asked, you send the mail. What you do is every devotee can send what is there remaining, how much they are completed, and what is remaining. Yeah, so means one thing is what data you have, and one thing is what data they have, right? There is sometimes there is some mismatch also. So they can also write, see what are assessments. One is CBA, OBA, then Shloka test, then 2 Bhagavatam class and 2 presentations. Anything missing? That's it. Correct? These 6 things are there. 2 exams, 2 Shloka test. 1 to 3 and 3. Each canto is there. Okay, 6 Shloka test. And then there is this 2 presentation. So according to you, you send you send them the mail and they can fill it. And you have data anyway, and I have to give you data also, right? This data, whatever evaluation from Kanai Krishna Prabhu. So we'll complete as early as possible. So next month also, if pending devotees are ready, next month or next month we will do Bhagavatam class. Then pending things presentation can start. That's it. All pending individually they can do. Okay. Hare Krishna. So next month dates we will soon announce through Janardhan. Haribol. Thank you for your participation.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, would like to thank you also, Prabhuji, for your valuable time and energy and feedbacks. Sitting through all this thing is not so easy, and giving, and very appreciative of all presentations. Thank you. And actually, personally for me, it was a very learning experience. Generally, I don't ask any questions. So in this setup, at least I learned to ask questions, and it was very. And all presentations were also very. I got to learn many things from many devotees. It was. Thank you.